very content as a single, financially independent woman. I still remember one thing I saw online is just an elderly woman saying something to her son, saying that if you don't get married, who's going to do your laundry? So I think this is an example of the kind of cultural expectation for women. And if I can be perfectly happy as an individual person, why would I want to be a servant to other people?
好，开始吃饭吧。
妈妈，我跟你讲，我今天期中考试了。
考怎么样啊？
And of course, even though there'll be fewer of them in the future, Chinese parents will keep having children, and they'll still experience the joy of parenthood, as Lauren does now.
I think he's very funny. He's very independent. I don't have to take him to school like that or pick him up because I leave home very early in the morning. So he just get up by himself and then cook his breakfast, go to school by himself. Then after school at the evening, he just come back by himself by bus. I think I'm very proud of him. He loves cooking. He just learn how to cook online. TikTok, the videos, he can just learn. So I think he's a quick learner. So.
And you get home in the night to cook his evening meal?
Sometimes he cooks. Sometimes I cook.
Wow, 12 years
Yes.
old. He must be a good cook.
Yes, he loves cooking.
He sounds like an extraordinary young man.
I hope so.
Yeah. That's Assignment. I'm Mickey Bristow. The producer was John Murphy.
That was Assignment from the BBC. I'm Saroja Coelho, and this is CBC Radio 1. Have a great day.
Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa with our team at Information Radio. Thanks for joining us this morning. The morning show here on CBC's on until 8:37 a.m. on 89.3 FM, 990 a.m. on that app and on YouTube. Lots coming up between now and then as we cover the stories making news in this province and affecting all of our lives here. So thanks for joining us. Let's say hello to the team. Corey Funk is in. He is the show director this morning. Good morning, Corey. Corey also covers the commute on the air. There's Mr. Abby Adeyemi. He's our senior tech. Abby covers your weather on the air. And Darren Marash is also here. Good morning, Darren. Darren's our YouTube producer, so say hello if you're watching the show stream there, as we hope you might watch for some of those visual components to the program. All right, let's get into weather briefly here. Sunny today in Winnipeg once again, the high 27, humidex 32, very similar to yesterday, chance of showers tonight. Over in Brandon, mainly sunny as well. A 60% chance of afternoon showers for you today, however, and a risk of a thunderstorm this afternoon in Brandon. So a high of 27, that system moving from the west. And up in Thompson, mix of sun and cloud. Watch for the local smoke up north because of wildfires. And in Thompson, a 30% chance of late afternoon showers. It will be cloudy and a risk of a thunderstorm late today as well. A high of 25 in Thompson, so pretty similar temperatures, at least across the province. Let's go to Heather Wells. It's 2 minutes to 6. She is here with your headlines.
Good morning. Well, 51 local states of emergency are still in effect across Manitoba as communities assess damage from unprecedented flooding. Guy Hammond lives just outside of Roblin. He says hundreds of houses there have sewer backup damage. He volunteered to pump water at the peak of the flood, and he says so many roads are washed out in that area. They need a team of volunteers just to build more road closed signs. So we'll hear more from him. And a new drone lending library is going to help small construction firms try new tech. It's coming to Manitoba. We'll hear about it in our next local news at 6:30.
All right. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Let's get into the show here this morning. In the first hour of the show, there's been so much rain this summer. It's giving some people the blues, but it's also impacting those with green thumbs. We're going to talk about what do you do when everything's dying in the garden because it's waterlogged. So we have that coming up and much more. Right now, though, let's turn our attention to national and international stories on World Report.
on Q.
Hi, I'm Jill Deacon, sitting in for Tom Power. When Zoe Whittall decided to switch up genres and write a romance novel, she thought she'd write it under a new name, Frankie Scott. Zoe will tell you the unwritten rules of writing romance.
I've never shied away from writing spicy scenes.
Q. This morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland. And on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. RCMP in Beaver Lodge, Alberta have issued an Amber Alert for a 6-year-old boy. His name is Lenakai Morrison. He's white, male, with a slight build, long light brown hair and brown eyes. The Mounties say he may be with his mother, Krista Morrison, a 35-year-old female. She may be driving a black 2015 Toyota Tundra with an Alberta license plate. Anyone who sees them should call 911. Prime Minister Mark Carney is in Saudi Arabia today for what can best be described as a formal reset of relations. Canada and the Gulf Kingdom only reestablished their diplomatic ties in 2023 after nearly a decade. Today's visit, however, is being overshadowed by the collapse of the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran. The CBC's Murray Brewster is in Jeddah with the latest.
And what we have to make sure is that peace is maintained and the Strait of Hormuz is open.
Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand trying to deliver a message of reassurance under fire. A Saudi vessel was hit by an Iranian strike near the Strait of Hormuz, drawing outrage from the kingdom and expressions of sympathy and support conveyed directly today to the Saudi Foreign Minister by Anand.
Canada agrees with you that Iran's attacks on civilian vessels are completely unjustified.
Militarily, Canada has very little to contribute to the defense of the kingdom, but Anand says it stands ready to help with demining once a permanent ceasefire is achieved, something she still believes is possible, even though U.S. President Donald Trump yesterday declared the ceasefire over and says he isn't interested in talking with the Iranians anymore. All of this is complicating Prime Minister Mark Carney's high-profile attempt to reset the relationship with the Saudis. Dennis Horak is a former Canadian ambassador to Saudi Arabia who was expelled after the Trudeau government's human rights criticism of the Saudis. He says Carney's mission is to get the dialogue back on track.
Certainly having this sort of high-level contact makes a difference, sends a signal.
During her meeting with her counterpart, Anand says she raised human rights and consular cases, the most high-profile of which involves blogger Raif Badawi, who remains trapped in the kingdom and unable to travel and reunite with his Canadian family. Murray Brewster, CBC News, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia.
U.S. President Donald Trump ditched his Qatari-gifted jet on his way home from the NATO summit in Turkey. Under Secret Service guidance, he flew home on his old Air Force One. It's raising concerns about the controversial new $400 million jet. Reports suggest the Qatari aircraft lacks critical missile defense countermeasures. For more, we're joined by Chris Reyes in New York. And Chris, why exactly did the Secret Service step in and recommend the president switch back to the old aircraft for his flight out of Turkey?
We're not getting a direct answer on this one from the Secret Service or the president. Trump was dismissive of security concerns, saying that the new Air Force One was actually being sent to Europe so soldiers could look at it. On social media, Trump said the plane was sent to an air base in the UK. But during the NATO summit, Trump did repeatedly raise concerns over being assassinated as U.S.-Iran hostilities resumed. Turkey shares a border with Iran. Here's what he told reporters.
I don't really care because I'm doing my job and I'm doing it, I hope, better than anybody's ever done it.
So what do we know about the defensive gaps on this new Qatari-gifted plane?
Well, according to some reporting, the new plane doesn't have the same advanced missile detection system as the old Air Force One, and that the Secret Service urged the switch. A White House spokesperson countered that, saying that the new Air Force One is state-of-the-art, fitted with high-level security protocols. On the flight back from Turkey, President Trump was asked by one reporter why they were told to bring the window shades down. He told the reporter that the flight is probably a dangerous one because of the Iranian leadership that the U.S. is dealing with, calling them sleazebags.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
The CBC's Chris Reyes reporting from New York. Graham Plattner is ending his campaign for the U.S. Senate. The Democratic candidate was running in the state of Maine, but this week, a woman accused him of rape.
We believe that for the movement to continue, it can't be May. And for that reason, we are suspending campaign operations. This is incredibly difficult because I know that some will think it's an admission of guilt, and it most certainly is not.
Plattner made the announcement last night on X. Fellow Democrats were pressuring him to drop out of the race for U.S. Senate. Bangladesh is struggling to contain an outbreak of measles. More than 750 people, mostly children, have died since March. Officials are reporting more than 1,000 new cases every day. Bangladesh has historically maintained very high levels of vaccination, but cuts to U.S. aid have led to a vaccine shortfall and undermined vaccination campaigns. Western Europe experienced its hottest June on record. That is according to the Copernicus Climate Monitoring Service. It shows the average temperature last month was more than 3 degrees higher than the averages recorded between 1991 and 2020. Reporter Ross Cullen joins me now from Paris. Ross, give us some of the highlights of this report.
This report shows that it was the second hottest June on record worldwide, but the hottest June that we've ever seen in Western Europe. Just relentless heat across the continent. There have been other points to note that the heat wave has caused drought conditions. We now see below average river flow across Europe, especially in France and the east of the continent. We have seen a real impact on crops because of the wildfires, which the report also notes they are spreading across France and Spain. And sea ice, the cover of ice across the whole Arctic region, was below average as well.
There's been ongoing debate about air conditioning and the lack of it in parts of Europe. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, it is something that is now coming into the public consciousness in the UK, in France, in other countries as well. Does France need to get a grip on air conditioning? Infamously, it is not something that we have here in widespread quantities. The number of AC units is very low. There's been a debate at political level as well, because Emmanuel Macron several years ago said he wanted to bring in new heating and cooling systems in 40,000 schools, and he's fallen well short of that aim. There's now calls for a widespread introduction of AC, particularly in educational institutes and in hospitals, to try to protect the most vulnerable. So lots of debate, lots of issues to consider when it comes to trying to bring in more AC in Europe.
Thanks so much, Ross.
No worries.
Reporter Ross Cullen in Paris. China and Taiwan are bracing for what could be the region's largest storm in nearly 40 years. Super Typhoon Bavi is churning through the Pacific. Its powerful winds gusting near 200 kilometers an hour. It is expected to skirt past Taiwan before slamming into eastern China this weekend, threatening catastrophic flooding to communities already hit by recent storms. China is still recovering from another typhoon, which killed at least 39 people earlier this week. More tourists are traveling to a hot spot for whales in Newfoundland. St. Vincent's Beach offers a chance to see humpbacks. But there are fears people could be swept away and swept out to sea. Laura Howells reports.
We've come to watch the whales.
Tourists flock to this rocky beach, known as a humpback hotspot this time of year. So close you can smell them, but swimming in a dangerous ocean.
There's a saying out here saying you don't tease the waves because they will get you.
Rochelle Rausch is on high alert for her toddler. While we talk, he runs towards the waves. Rausch sprints after him, pulling him back.
Those waves can be deadly.
But not everyone is so on guard.
There's been concerns about people getting too close to the water, and I've seen it many times myself where children are allowed to just roam freely in the ocean.
Resident Orla Moylan Hegarty tries to warn people online. Don't stand in the water.
The riptides, the currents, they could be really strong and they can knock anybody down and just kind of suck them out without warning.
That plus a sudden steep drop off into the deep. The town has put up warning signs, but it's not stopping everyone. Mayor Verna Hayward.
We never want anybody to be washed out, because if you get into that,
chances are you're not coming out of it.
Danger this Ontario tourist wasn't fully aware of.
But I wouldn't have thought like the tide would be able to just take you by just standing.
People hopeful, beachgoers stay cautious.
The ocean's incredibly dangerous, and I think that it's easy to forget that, and when you get sucked in the beauty of it.
Laura Howell, CBC News, St. Vincent's, Newfoundland and Labrador.
That is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime, cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Well, good morning, Manitoba. How are we doing out there today? Welcome to nearing the end of the first week of July here. In Winnipeg, mainly sunny, 17 degrees. I'm Marcy Marcusa. You're listening to CBC. This is 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. The show is called Information Radio, and more on the weather in this province in a moment. This hour on the show, there's been a lot of rain in Manitoba this summer and spring already, causing serious flooding issues, as you all know. Also, though, on a lesser concern level, but still a level of worry, if you spent a lot of money on your plants and your flowers this year, they might also be getting rerouted and rained out. So what do? We'll get some advice this hour about how to deal with that in your own yards and properties. Also this hour on the show, the International Monetary Fund cut its global economic growth projection again for 2026. What's the implication of that for Canada's economic outlook? That discussion this half hour. Right now, Heather Wells is in with other local headlines and news. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, police allege a man arrested in a months-long string of Winnipeg arsons last year had plans to target other places, including Manitoba Health Minister Uzoma Asseguera's constituency office and the CBC. The unproven allegations emerged in recently unsealed search warrant documents. We'll hear more about that. And voters in East St. Paul choose a new mayor and council in October. Officially, the names of the candidates are a secret. The RM says it won't say who's running until the nominations close in late September. We'll hear how that is being received in our next local news coming up at 6:30.
That's unusual. I don't know that I've ever heard that before.
I don't think I have either.
Yeah. All right. Well, looking forward to hearing what they have to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right now, let's get into the weather with Abby Adiyemi.
Yeah, good morning, Marcy. Let's start with the warnings. We now have that warning really spreading, covering most of the northern part of the province under this yellow air quality warning as the wildfire smokes continues to blanket areas around Flin Flon, Thompson, Norway House, Lynn Lake towards Brochet this morning. And as far as Tuduli Lake, we're seeing poor visibility and health risk concerns for that part of the province. So you need to take care of your spending time outside. Meanwhile, down south, a special weather statement warns of a major heat wave starting tomorrow afternoon. And this will last well into next week as we will start to see temperatures climb from the 30s, from 30 degrees from Friday night into the mid-30s by the weekend with muggy humidity factored in, making things really feel close to 45 as we get into next week, as we get into Sunday. So you just need to keep an eye out for that. It's starting to get hot outside. But for today, Winnipeg, we're looking at 18 degrees. It's going to be sunny outside to start. We're going to see some breezy conditions, and then we warm up to 24. There's a chance of evening showers in the forecast today. But right now, Winnipeg, we are just close to 19 degrees.
Do you hear what he just said, Corey? That's spoken like a true Nigerian guy.
Wait, I missed it.
He said it's going to be 45 and it's getting close to a bit hot.
Okay, of course. Yeah, right.
Right. Because
maybe I'll put the parka away.
It's not getting hot. It's getting hot.
Oh my God, man. You know me and Corey, we'd like it to be 15 or something.
Yeah,
maybe 18.
Permanent 21, 22 would be the dream summer for me.
Today, 27, we're already in the feel of like 30 plus.
Right?
So, it's getting close to 40.
Honestly, though, if you're off with the kids, which, obviously the kids are out and you can get to a splash pad or to a beach then you can do that fun stuff. Did you do that yesterday with your kids?
I did. Took them to this cordon splash pad yesterday. It's like, if you haven't been, it's, actually, I want to keep it a secret. No one go to the cordon splash pad.
Okay, move on.
It's not amazing. There's not this really
terrible.
great playground right beside it. Don't go. It's
Corey Funk is here to talk about our commute.
Yes, in terms of in the city, haven't heard of any major issues yet. Though outside the city, of course, still a bunch of highways, as we've been saying for almost 2 weeks now, in around Duck Mountain area, closed because of washouts. There's actually one closer to the city that's actually closed now too. Highway 221 from Marquette to Rosser closed because of washouts as well. So you want to avoid that. Other than that, though, if you do see something, if you're walking your bike and you're driving, do give me a call on the CBC commuter line. Would love to hear what you're seeing out there. That number, 204-788-3093.
So, Manitoba, if you aren't in a completely flooded out area, so we understand obviously the rain's been very serious for a lot of people, but if you are in another area or including in the city of Winnipeg, you might also be having trouble with all the rain because your garden might be struggling. Let's start the show with some ideas about what to do in this unpredictable weather. Ray Dubois, president and owner of Ron Paul Garden Center in Winnipeg. CBC's Faith Fundell talked to him about what concerns he's hearing from customers dealing with all this rainy weather.
What we're seeing is some people are just giving up on gardens altogether. So, again, a long-time client who typically buys a lot of vegetables, a Greek fellow was in the other day, and he was just getting landscape fabric. And I asked him what he was doing, what kind of a project that he was working on. And he said he was just going to cover his garden for the year. It was didn't have time to get the crops in, and every time he tried, it rained. And he said, "I'm just going to give up this year."
How do you feel hearing that and seeing that?
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, it's demoralizing because we've paid the labor to grow them and plant them and then upsize them and all that stuff and get them into the retail packs to go, and paid for the seeds, harvested the seeds, paid for the labor to harvest seeds, paid for the soil, paid for the heat, paid for the fertilizer. So when those sales do come through the till, they do tend to go right to the bottom line because it's already been paid for. So it does hurt, but I don't blame them. You know what I mean? And we've seen also the same with some people with annuals and just decorative plants, and hearing some of the same things. We're just not going to plant this year. Just people don't. They're just too wet. So we've seen a little bit of that, and some of the contractors that are that shop with us, we're hearing the messages of we're already starting to push jobs into 2027 because we're so backed up. And people say, "Oh, it's only one day," but one day extrapolated over 2, 3, 4 week period, ripple effect, it pushes it out 2 or 3 days when you factor in all the other delays that happen in construction. So it has a real bad effect. So we're starting to hear some rumblings of that, and then on that same vernacular, then we're starting to hear some layoffs. And so that's kind of what we're hearing is, a little bit of retail and the professional contractors that shop in our store. And of course, just frustration. So people are just frustrated. They want it to stop, but who do you talk to, right? I mean, I've been praying, and we'll see if my God does something for me. But if you've got someone you talk to, I'll take any help I can get.
Yeah, and for people who may not have given up, are there certain plants that they should keep an eye on, given all of the rain?
Well, yes and no. So if you're a raised beds or raised planters, Bob's your uncle, and everybody's blowing their plants out at 50% off or better. So there's still lots of time to enjoy them. And so if you're looking in that kind of annual arena, then no problem. If you're asking me questions about kind of what does well in wet conditions, blue fig iris, it's like a swamp milkweed. I mean, the first word in the name is swamp, so you're safe there. And then like a Joe Pye weed, turtle head, even ligularia might work. But again, if it's if it's standing water, then no matter what you do, even tolerant of wet feet doesn't mean they can handle flooding. So it's at that point, then you have to start looking about property management, grading, that kind of thing, and
which is not exactly a cheap thing.
No, it's not. So, and depending how bad things are, I know, for instance, talking with an old friend of mine who actually called me, and then but I was out, and then got the message the next day, and I called when he was on the way to the lake because a tree fell on his house or his cabin. So, but he was telling me that at his house, that he's got a larger property on Buffalo Point, and they've actually got sump pits that they've put into their property to help manage the water and push it to the ditches. So there's that aspect of things, depending on how bad your water is or how bad your grading is and such. But a lot of times you can just build areas up. If you have beds that are pretty bad, you can turn them and aerate them. That doesn't hurt. Like just a shallow till won't hurt at all. So those are things you can do. I mean, if things are really bad, then you may want to look at the French drain and, a little bit of elbow grease and some river rock and landscape fabric, and maybe this socked weeping tile, would help, but wouldn't hurt. But again, this year is an anomaly. I don't recall seeing it like this in years, and I've been doing this for 17 years, and I don't recall it this bad. I know October was tough for us. We lost a ton of days because you'd get a hard rain, and then you get 2 days of sun, and then you get a hard rain, so you can't get any traction, nothing to dry out, and that destroyed our October. But this kind of a weird spring I've never seen.
So what do you do about it?
Pray.
Like, is this a give up? Just give up?
Heavy drinking. It's there's nothing you can do, man. You just persevere, and honestly, you just hope every day. When you look at that, I look at the weather app, 3-4 times a day. It's the first thing I do in the morning when I get up after I kiss my wife. It's look at the weather app. So there's really not much you can do, and you just have to persevere and hope things get drier. I mean, this week looks great. And interestingly enough, if you remember last year with all of the smog from the fires, everything was pretty. We didn't have a really that many hot days, and so a lot of our corporate clients. Not complaining or anything, but you go out there and you're reviewing plants and stuff, and the plants look stunted. And then as soon as we got sun, they just blew up. So for your listeners, there's hope if your plants are kind of just not doing much. And I heard you talk about the tomato growers. That's I've heard from some of our tomato grower clients. They're kind of everything's just kind of not doing much. But as soon as we get some like this week here of warm sun, I bet you're going to see your gardens pop. I bet you're going to see them pop significantly. So I think there is hope.
Oh, CBC does not endorse heavy drinking. We do endorse praying, though. That was funny. What do you do about it? Pray? Heavy drinking. You know what? We are actually going to get more rain in the forecast here. That is not going to come today, but tonight, and then tomorrow we have chance of showers. And then there is this stretch of really hot weather to contend with. So by next week, we'll be doing stories about what your plants do in the dry weather. Watch. But Ray Dubois there talking about the current conditions and what is coming at your gardens. The president and owner of Ron Paul Garden Center just outside Winnipeg. He was speaking with the CBC's Faith Fundal. It is 6:23 a.m. on 89.3. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio Live in downtown Winnipeg. And next on the show, the International Monetary Fund has lowered its world economic growth outlook. Now, it's a small adjustment, but the IMF is forecasting just 3% growth for 2026. It's down from forecast 3.1 in April. Now, this is the second time, though, the global lender has cut growth projections this year. So Moshe Lander's here to talk about it, senior lecturer in the Department of Economics over at Concordia University. Good morning.
Good morning.
Sounds small, is it?
Yeah, it's small, but I think the bigger thing is that anything below 4% is essentially saying that the world is in a recession. So in Canada, we talk about if GDP is growing at a negative pace, that's a recession for us. The globe should be able to sustain at least 4% growth under normal circumstances. So 3.1 to 3.0, who cares? It's that it doesn't start with a 4 or a bigger number. That's the more worrying sign. And it's not surprising given what's been going on in the world, not just in the last 4 months since the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, but in the last 18 months since somebody assumed a second term in the White House.
Let's talk more about what's been going on in the world, because this forecast by the IMF was projected before the hostilities renewed between the U.S. and Iran this week. What should we think about in the future? Or I should ask, what are you expecting could happen in the future once that's, this obviously this morning it's getting very serious again. Where do you think we're going to go from here?
Well, I think if we redo the forecast, the number is now going to be 2 point something. There's no way that this is going to lead to more growth, given that we've seen the last 4 months being a drag on growth. That just means then that it's going to be that much tougher for the global economy to dig its way out from the problems in which it finds itself. And, even if you find a renewed push for peace and an opening of the Strait of Hormuz, it's not that much different than, let's say, a hurricane that brushes through the Gulf of Mexico. Just because the hurricane's gone doesn't mean that all the infrastructure goes immediately back online. It's going to take time to put things right. And so we could very easily be talking about limited supplies or energy shortages in parts of the world while we wait for things to resume some sort of semblance of normalcy. I think if Trump had not tried to find a deal with Iran in the last little while, whether it holds or not, we could have very easily been talking about energy shortages in North America by the end of this summer. So this maybe gives us a little bit of a stay of execution. But for all of the talk that you're saying, heat wave coming to Winnipeg and to Manitoba in the next few days, imagine that we're talking about energy shortages or having to ration the ability to reach for the thermostat. That would be devastating for the global economy, not just for the Canadian economy. And so, it's really important at this point that they find a solution, they get that thing open, and that we replenish a lot of the energy reserves that we've been using to try and match supply and demand in the meantime.
So given what you're saying, the other perspective from the IMF, they said yesterday overall the global economy has actually held up better than expected despite the Iran war. What do you make of that?
That's the perfect economics response, right? Here's bad news on one hand, but on the other hand, here's some good news. Look, if it's 3.0 now, it could have been 2 point something very easily. One of the things that we've seen for listeners of a certain age, and you can see for those that are watching, I'm not of that age, but for those that remember the 1970s oil shocks, one of the things that it did was it spurred the need to try and reduce energy reliance. And so the big boats of the 1970s became a lot more fuel efficient cars and smaller and lighter materials to try and make sure that those cars in the 1970s wouldn't be as reliant on gasoline, and factories became more energy efficient. The move towards more energy efficient windows in homes became much more common. And, I think this is one of those pivot points again, where what we're going to do is try and reduce our energy dependence. Doesn't mean that we're going to give up fossil fuels entirely. I'm not even sure that we should be giving up fossil fuels entirely, but we're going to find a way to move towards nuclear, wind, solar, things like that, to try and make sure that if this does happen again, or if something like this happens again, then we're not going to be in a situation where it's quite as critical and much of a drag on growth.
All right, Moshe, thank you.
Anytime.
Moshe Lander, Senior Lecturer at the Department of Economics at Concordia University.
Sound of a voice, hey my friend, it's time to perform. I didn't answer, I could not feel, my hands sweaty and my neurons torn. I spent so long living the good life that I was blind to the loss of soul. I left my angels empty-handed, I left myself in an endless hole. They say it's never too late to get done what you could have done before. That's what all this living's for. I had a friend back in high school. where all this confusion came from. They say it's never too late to get done what you could have done before. That's what all this living's for.
Little ditty from Manitoba's The Secret Beach, part of the local lineup performing at this year's Winnipeg Folk Festival, which opens today. Thanks for joining us here on CBC. Your news locally from Manitoba is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, nice bright start to Thursday. We will see some clouds roll in. We're at 17 degrees right now. Today's high, 27. The humidex will feel like 32, and then a good chance we'll see some showers move in this evening. We are learning more about a man charged in a string of arsons across Winnipeg last year. Search warrant documents allege Jesse Wheatland had plans to target other places, including the office of Manitoba's health minister and the CBC. Caitlin Garlick reports.
Police allege when they arrested a man charged in more than a dozen arsons last year, he was carrying a notebook. Inside, they say, was a list of future potential targets, including healthcare workers, the train station, CBC, and Health Minister Uzoma Asaguera's office. Those unproven allegations are among many police made in recently unsealed search warrant documents. Jesse Wheatland is charged in a months-long string of arsons throughout 2025, including at restaurants, clubs, a provincial treatment center on Magnus Avenue, and the constituency offices of Cabinet Ministers Nahanni Fontaine and Bernadette Smith. Police say some of the targets were hit more than once. Wheatland remains in custody and is scheduled to stand trial next year. Caitlin Gowerluck, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Wheatland's lawyer did not respond to a request for comment. Voters in East St. Paul choose a new mayor and council in October. Officially, the names of the candidates are a secret. The RM says it won't say who's running until nominations close in late September. Brian Watchkos, who says he is registered to run for East St. Paul Council, doesn't like the secrecy.
If somebody comes to my door saying that they're a potential candidate, I should have the ability to contact the elections office and say, is this person legitimate? They're asking for my signature. They're asking for personal information. They may be asking for a donation. There should be some kind of verification process.
East St. Paul's CAO says there is no legislation compelling her municipality to state the names of registered candidates. Glenn Simard, Manitoba's Municipal Relations Minister, says his government advises all municipalities to make the names of candidates public as soon as possible. Well, parts of Dauphin Regional Health Centre will likely remain closed for months. It's one of the challenges left behind after heavy rains last week flooded the hospital's basement. Details from CBC's Ian Fraze.
An internal memo says some healthcare services at Dauphin's hospital will likely resume before others. The memo to staff working at the hospital was obtained by CBC News. It warns service disruptions will likely continue for several months, forcing some patients in the city to go elsewhere for care. The closure stems from major flooding last week. Heavy rains poured into the hospital's basement, knocking out power and forcing the evacuation of dozens of patients. A temporary assessment clinic has been set up, but that will help people with basic care, not emergencies. Doctors Manitoba says physicians are concerned by what the hospital's extended closure will mean for patients. The hospital is a hub for tens of thousands of people in the Parkland region. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
51 local states of emergency are still in effect across Manitoba as communities assess damage from unprecedented flooding. Guy Hammond lives just outside Roblin. He says hundreds of houses have sewer backup damage. He volunteered to pump water at the peak of the flood and says so many roads are washed out, they needed a team of volunteers to build more road closed signs. Hammond says the flooding is also affecting his family's farms. Fields are too wet to use heavy machinery.
At this time in spring, we'll probably get a airplane in to help with some of the spraying just for logistics of being able to get water to the fields, obviously the road conditions. So that's one sort of bigger change for us.
He says rebuilding washed out roads and bridges will be critical to getting the crops off this fall. The Association of Manitoba Municipalities says it is using last year's wildfire season experience to help local governments recover from flooding. AMM President Kathy Valentino says communication between governments and residents is the most critical thing in emergencies. She says the AMM is helping coordinate rebuilding efforts. Valentino says right now there's a shortage of culverts in the parkland.
Instead of all these one-offs of everybody phoning, around Canada looking for culverts, let's look at, a procurement of culverts for the parkland region.
Valentino says they don't know yet how many culverts will be needed. The AMM is working with the province to help gather that data. A legendary voice from the 1980s has gone silent.
Once upon a time there was light in my life, but now there's only love in the dark. Nothing I can say, a total eclipse of the heart.
Pop icon Bonnie Tyler has died at the age of 75 after a sudden medical crisis in Portugal. Tyler first captivated global audiences with her gravelly vocals, scoring a string of timeless cinematic anthems. Her management confirms she passed away peacefully last night, leaving behind a towering musical legacy defined by this, what you're hearing right now, total eclipse of the heart. Bonnie Tyler was 75. And you can find more news updated throughout the day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
I have this vague, strange memory, but I know this happened. You might remember, Heather, of Ismaila Alpha, who used to host the afternoon show, of course, here, and then moved to host there.
Yeah.
And me singing that, Total Eclipse of the Heart, in the TV studio, and they shot a cheesy, funny video.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't know why we did it. There had to be some kind of a funny hook. Maybe it was a Comedy Fest thing, or
because Ismaila was more of a rapper, right?
I know, but there we were doing this. I think he did the background. I think he was doing the turn around bright eyes. Yeah, as I recall, I think that. Anyway, I have to reach out to him and
I
find
really
out.
want to see that now.
I know, so do I. I was a big Bonnie Tyler fan, though.
Amazing voice, right?
Just it gets in your.
Do you know what I did?
Soul, that voice. Yeah, that gravelly voice.
I did not realize that she was actually from Wales.
Oh, neither did I.
Yeah, she apparently grew up in Wales.
There were a lot of gravelly voice singers, though, in that decade, late 70s, 80s, like Juice Newton.
It's a good sound.
As a little kid, I used to know all of them because I used to sing them because my voice has been like this since I was little, too. So
yeah, you're similar. There
I love that tune. We pulled it, by the way. Corey and Abby got it in the system entirely as well. So we'll hear the whole version because now it's going to be in our heads, which I love. So thank you.
Thank you.
Heather Wells. More news online anytime. She's with us through the morning, of course, but you can always check cbc.ca/Manitoba. All right, speaking of the rest of the team, let's check in with Abby.
Yes, Marcy. Wildfire smoke triggers air quality warnings across the northern parts of the province. We're talking about from the Flin Flon area all the way towards Tudula Lake this morning. We have poor visibility and, of course, the smoke impacting that region. And then we have this upcoming heat wave that is coming towards the southern part of the province. And this would kick in like from tomorrow afternoon, and it's going to last well into next week. We're talking about temperatures climbing from 30 degrees on Friday into the mid 30s. Then we're going to see humidities like in the 40s from 40, 45 from Sunday. And I'm sure that's when we should start expecting that official heat warnings that will kick in. But for now, we just have the statement that that is a comment. For the Red River Valley region at this time, the city sits mainly sunny before the clouds will roll in later. We're noticing the breezy conditions from the south. We're going to get to a hot high of 27 today, and you factor in the humidity, it will be feeling about 32 degrees. But currently, we are hovering around 18, 15, depending on where you are in the city. And there's a chance of showers and thunderstorms that will be arriving later tonight. And tomorrow, we will start hitting those 29s and the 30s in the southern region. Currently, we're seeing temperatures around 13 degrees around the Brandon area, 18 in the Dauphin area, 14 in the Gimli area. Most of these regions hovering close to 27 later. Up north where we have the smoke, we're seeing 16 degrees around the power Flin Flon. We're looking at 13 around Lynn Lake, and Gillam is sitting at 9 degrees. Tudula Lake at 10, Churchill at 11. Most regions crawling close to 25 degrees. But the main problem in the north today is the smoke. And for the south, we're preparing for the heat waves to sweep in tomorrow afternoon. For now, Winnipeg is at 18, crawling to 27, but it's going to feel like 32.
All right, Abby, thank you.
Thank you.
Corey.
The most recent newly closed highway is Highway 21 from Marquette to Rosser. That's just northwest of Winnipeg because of washouts on that portion of the highway. So heads up there. Of course, still lots of closed highways in and around Duck Mountain Provincial Park, including, of course, near Swan River, down to Roblin, even further east and near around Camperville as well. So just look out there. If you do see anything here in Winnipeg, in the city, or anywhere else in the province, if you're walking your bike and you're driving, let me know what you're seeing out there on the roads, highways, bike lanes. That number to call, 204-788-3093.
I tried to sneak the blinds up for us in here so we could look out onto Portage Ave, but I got the thumbs down about halfway.
Oh, from
because of the light. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now you look all bright. Yeah.
That's okay, though. Darren's covering our YouTube stream, so we look good there.
Okay.
But the weather sure is hard not to enjoy
I
this
just
morning.
want that sunlight in my eyes.
Yeah. People walk in really enjoying it. Okay, let's get into business news. Hello, Phil Lamont.
Someday I should get a camera here so you can put me on air, although on second thought, maybe not.
Wow.
Yeah.
We'll put you on air. Get a camera.
Yeah, I know. I have more hair on my back than my head, so I don't know. Life's going on like that.
Corey's leaving the studio, so he's not heard laughing on air. Let's talk about something serious here. The U.S. and Iran traded missile strikes yesterday at the ceasefire in the Gulf. As a ceasefire in the Gulf appears over the ceasefire in the Gulf. Where are we at this morning in financial markets?
I mean, it's kind of interesting because they started shooting each other again. So people looked at the ceasefire and said, well, maybe it's off. And in the past few months when this happened, the markets bounced like rubber balls. This time, surprisingly muted, despite the fact Donald Trump says he's no interest in restarting up negotiations for a new ceasefire with Iran. The price of a barrel of Brent crude oil peaked yesterday, $80 US. It was up from $71 on Tuesday. Now, that's your jump. Overnight, though, last time I looked, it was below $77, so it's evened out. Same with equities. Dow Jones Industrial Average was down 1% yesterday, but the S&P broader based index was barely negative, and the Nasdaq eked out a small gain. Markets appear to be taking a wait-and-see attitude. Will the situation on the ground match the flaming rhetoric between Washington and Tehran? And you can see the confusion, because for months now, both sides have been promising hellfire on each other, but they continue to negotiate. So the markets keep looking and going, which one's kind of real? We're unsure. But if the missiles continue to fly now, there are real economic risks. Only about 200 million barrels of oil pushed through the Strait of Hormuz during the recent 3-week lull in fighting. But it sounds like a lot, but it's only 2 days of global demand. Shutting down the strait again will drive up crude costs, and you can see that at the pumps in the U.S. They've started to climb prices there, $3.80 a gallon. We're still, from my point of view, the yield on U.S. 10-year bonds, take the word yield, substitute interest rate, that was up yesterday. It's the highest level since May. To me, that indicates that investors see higher inflation and higher interest rates in the American near term. Oil prices are a problem, especially at the pump, but you don't want interest rates going up as well.
To another story in business news this morning, Meta is planning to spend $13 billion on an AI data center in Alberta. So where does Canada stand in terms of getting more of these data hubs? Especially interesting because we had Evan Solomon, the Minister of AI, on yesterday.
Oh, yeah, right. There's more on the books, but not a lot of shovels in the ground, and you're getting pushback from communities, and that's growing. Meta wants to spend $13 billion plus on a data center, AI data center north of Edmonton. It would be the first such facility of the Facebook parent in this country, and it would dwarf dollar size what's been proposed in other provinces. Win for Alberta. They got a strategy to attract AI there. There are more than 30 hyperscale, that's the buzzword, hyperscale data centers looking for approval from Alberta regulators. Cheap land, abundant energy or draws. Across Canada, about 70 I saw on the books, but few have broken ground, mainly a couple in Vancouver and Ontario. One problem, holding up approvals, community pushback. Recently in Alberta, surprisingly, in Manitoba, they nixed recent applications for AI data centers. Your guys was a little more kind of straightforward. Alberta seemed a little more technical, but people are growing concerned about the water and electricity draws that these centers would take up. The AI one for Meta, there's a natural gas plant being built as well, and that's supposed to be, get some of the energy concerns off the table. But a May poll, 68% of respondents across Canada opposed a AI data center in their area. They didn't seem to oppose the concept, but they didn't want one next door because of the draw of energy and water. Another problem, though, long-term benefits might be overstated. Brookings Institute estimated job gains. Most of the job gains in these projects come from the construction, and once they're finished, they go away. But in a typical community with a new AI data center, the job gains about 4% over 6 years, and that's just not a ton of jobs.
And finally, there's a new economic target for thieves now, and we've seen this in Manitoba, actually, copper. Tell us more about why it's happening.
Yeah, obviously prices are soaring, but that makes your pipes and copper wiring in your house more valuable for thieves. Canadian industry has seen a 200% spike in copper stealing between 2022 and 2024. Some U.S. companies, AT&T is the one I found, have reported 10,000 incidents of people stealing non-precious minerals in 1 year, and that's mainly copper. And you can see it from the price chart. Last 12 months, price of a pound of the reddish-brown mineral up 55%. Starting back in July 2022, and copper prices have more than doubled. Few reasons for soaring value of the so-called, has a nickname, the eternal metal. Demand soaring from AI data centers, electric vehicles, and renewable energy infrastructure, because they all use a lot of copper. Also, last year's U.S. tariffs on the metal forced American companies to stockpile copper, and they're now at their highest levels in 30 years. And the existing copper ore deposits, they're degrading, so they're getting harder to find the metal, and that's going to drive up costs. They've done stuff to try to prevent this, prevent theft, like extra security, like electronic monitoring, hopefully to prevent the repeat of a 2025 incident where thieves cut down 33 hydro poles in a remote Ontario community and made off with $100,000 of copper wiring.
All right, Phil, thank you.
Thanks, Marcy.
That's Phil Demont with Business News. Well, mainly sunny, 17 degrees today, and for the day, 17 now rather, for the day our high is 27 degrees in the sun in Winnipeg. Well, it has only been a few weeks since elementary school ended for most kids, so the idea of having no routine, maybe sleeping in or staying up late probably still feels great. But as most parents know, that feeling eventually gives way to, Dad, I'm bored. Maybe it's happened already in your house. CBC's health columnist Mary Jane Hampton looks at how to tackle summer slump.
Research has shown that there is a very predictable slump in the pleasure of being footloose and fancy-free, and it happens about 20 days in, to be specific. That's about the time it takes for the brain to adapt to the novelty of having no responsibility or structure, and dopamine levels drop. That's the summer boredom slump, and it's very well documented as a phenomenon. It's also really clear that a bit of boredom isn't all bad. In fact, not overprogramming your child throughout the school year and over the summer break creates the opportunity for them to use their imagination, foster creativity. It builds executive function like inventing their own games, using materials, learning time management, and developing organization skills. So instead of thinking of boredom as a problem to solve, think of it as an important role in your child's social, emotional, and cognitive development, because learning to tolerate boredom also teaches your child how to self-regulate, deal with frustration in a healthy and positive way, and learn how to be self-directed, all skills that are vital in adulthood. When you hit that 20-day mark of the summer boredom slump and you need to prime the pump with some self-directed activities without feeling guilty about not being the family's cruise ship social director, there are 3 websites you need to know about. They have suggestions of fun projects that kids can do using household materials, their own resourcefulness, and minimal supervision. The first is the Kids Research Institute Australia. If you click the menu and go to the Visit the Discovery Center, you can learn how to do a soapy magic trick using water, pepper, and soap to simulate how pathogens react to hand washing. And you can make DNA bracelets to teach you how to decode genetic sequences. The second website is Science Buddies. Go to the Human Biology and Health section and you can make a DIY stethoscope and then monitor heart rates before and after exercise. You can construct a working pair of lungs using empty plastic bottles and straws and balloons to see how the diaphragm works. And the third website is Mombrite, Monbrite. Go to STEM activities. You can learn how to use a garden hose to measure out and see how long the human digestive system is and submerge hard-boiled eggs in different liquids to understand tooth decay. There's even a section about how to use all those Lego pieces lying around to make marble mazes and even a balloon-powered car.
Lots and lots of ideas there. I like that she left us with some websites as well this morning since summer has just begun. If you're looking for something to do to already combat boredom, you hear the kids getting bored pretty quick these days. That's Mary Jane Hampton with her ideas. She's a columnist for CBC Radio.
You know the voices that tell the story of our province. Now you can take them anywhere. From the essential start to your day on information radio to the conversations that define our lunch hour on Radio Noon and the pulse of the city on Up to Speed, your local connection is always within reach. Just open the CBC News app, tap the local drop-down, and hit play. Your favorite voices, your province, right in your pocket. Download the CBC News app today, your daily rhythm, live and local.
So we are obviously at CBC already thinking about our election preparation for this fall as we have a civic election and we have elections in different communities all across Manitoba and different cities for councillors and for leaders. Here in Winnipeg, we will be electing a mayor and we also have councillors up for election. We know that we already have 4 open wards where the incumbents will not be running for city councillor. To that end, if you're already leaning into this, why? And if you're interested in being on the air, perhaps to talk about your perspective, how you're going to decide who to vote for, what you're looking at, what you care about in Manitoba in your community, or if you're here in the city of Winnipeg in your neighborhood, please give us a call, 788-3205, as our coverage planning continues. Well, next on the show, Mark Carney showed NATO allies that Canada is ready to spend big on defense. There were announcements to buy subs, long-range missiles, military vehicles, and more this week, all part of Canada's promise to spend 5% of GDP on defense by 2035. It's about $150 billion a year. Our next guest, though, thinks that's too much. Steve Staples is a defense analyst and author of the Substack Peace Quest. We've reached him this morning in Toronto. Good morning.
Hi, Marcy.
Hi. So why too much? What's your argument?
It's a lot of money, Marcy. I mean, this is going to have a significant impact on Canada's finances, on our economy, on our international relations, and our outlook on the world for a long time to come. And I'm not sure that Canadians have adequately considered the impact, the long-term impact that this kind of spending is going to have. I'm not even sure that the government really knows how it's going to manage to do all this. We're talking about a quadrupling of our national defense spending, according to the Prime Minister, over the next decade or so. We're looking at increasing military exports, arms sales essentially to other parts of the world by 50% at least, and maybe more, and buying the kinds of weapons that we've never had in Canada before, such as long-range missiles that we just bought from the United States. Certainly the fleet of submarines is 3 times the size of the fleet that we have now. We're going from 4 to 12. I don't even know where we're going to park all these submarines that we're buying. And so there's a lot of long-term implications about what this is going to impact in terms of government spending and our economy. And I really think we need to think carefully about what we're doing and the decisions we're making.
Obviously, you know, the pushback from the government is that they're spending more on defense because we've been lagging behind for years. So the bill's going to be bigger now to catch up, but also because it's, quote, we're in a more dangerous and divided world, end quote. I wonder how that sits with you, that idea that, you know, down the line, this financial investment will be needed because this is about our protection.
Yeah, I certainly agree that it does feel like this is a much more unhinged environment that we've seen in quite a while, certainly going back to 9/11 and the period following that, the last big ramp up of military spending, and even the Cold War before that. It does kind of feel like that kind of environment where we're seeing this terrible conflict in the Ukraine with the Russian invasion there. I mean, so many casualties on both sides there. That's just shocking.
So just to interject, we all know the context. So if that's proven in the world, why doesn't that justify the spending here?
Well, I think certainly we need to do some level of spending on national defense, but I think there's other motives that are coming in here. The NATO spending target, for instance, in terms of GDP, is not a very good measure of spending. I think what we really should be doing is looking at what our needs are in this environment. What is our national defense requirements in terms of meeting this? Then what kind of capabilities do we need to have? And then set the budget accordingly. But what the government has appeared to be doing is the actual reverse, that the budget is being set to meet this arbitrary target, to take the issue politically off the table at the NATO or with the United States and Donald Trump. We're rushing out and buying a lot of equipment for billions of dollars that may or may not fit our needs without really knowing what our policy is. So we've got it reversed. And I think that we really deserve to take a pause, look at what our requirements are, and make sure that we're spending that money wisely.
How will you measure if it's spent wisely? I mean, another one of Mark Carney's arguments is that the spending will bring economic opportunity and job creation to Canada. Is that a valid measure of spending, even if we're left in financial trouble?
It's hard to say where the job and economic aspect is fitting into this calculation. You certainly do not want to have economic considerations wrapped up in your national security policy. You want to keep those two separate, because you don't want to be driving government spending in the economy and creating jobs when there isn't a threat to be dealing with out there. So for instance, if we start moving into these big defense contracts, if we build up a big defense industry like Prime Minister wants to do in this country, what happens when those contracts end? There's incredible pressure to continue on with government contracts to keep the production lines going. Or we end up focusing on arms exports, which is also a priority here, to keep those production lines going to countries that may have dubious human rights records, or trying to sell countries that are also trying to promote their industries. So I think the government definitely has a role in shaping the economy and investments, but we got to make sure that those investments are long lasting, certainly on the commercial side, that they create some benefits for the economy that can go beyond just these contracts.
And you want to see it more on that bigger policy piece rather than individual contracts, as you've said. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Steve Staples. Appreciate you weighing in.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That is Steve Staples, defense analyst and author of the Substack Peace Quest. We reached him this morning in Toronto. It is coming up to 7 o'clock, 3 minutes to. Coming up here on the show after 7 on CBC, it's a big day for Little House on the Prairie fans. The reboot, filmed entirely in Manitoba, is now out on Netflix. We're going to meet a local actor who spent over a month on set. He said it was so cool. He felt like he was right in the 1800s at more than one point. Also, Winnipeg Punk Fest is happening this weekend. We'll hear more about that. And then at 10 to 8, to a very serious topic, there has been yet another fatal motorcycle crash in our province. We're going to hear more about what our CMP had to say about the matter, and also about safety, even for seasoned riders coming up, as we try to make sense of things. Let's go to Heather Wells. She's making sense of the news this morning and has headlines.
Good morning. Well, voters in East St. Paul choose a new mayor and council in October. Officially, the names of the candidates are a secret. The RM says it won't say who's running until nominations close in late September. East St. Paul's CAO says there is no legislation compelling her municipality to state the names of municipal registered candidates. A new drone lending library is going to help small construction firms in Manitoba try new tech. The federal government's giving the Manitoba construction sector $1 million to buy drones and train people to use them. We'll hear all about this drone lending library coming up in our next local news at 7:30.
All right, thanks, Heather. In the weather, mainly sunny 17, our high today 27. Chance of showers tonight and into tomorrow for Winnipeg. Brandon with a chance of showers this afternoon. There's warning levels for air quality across a lot of the north today, so be careful because of wildfire from smoke. We're talking Flin Flon, Cranberry, Thompson, Cross Lake, Norway, Linleaf, Brochet, Puck, and Tuduli Lake. And the heat. Just keep that in mind if you're making some plans, because once we get over today, tomorrow, we've got a big stretch into next week where the heat is going to be at some serious temperature levels. So keep it in mind. Right now, though, let's go to World Report. It's 1 minute to 7 o'clock, and the latest in national and international news is next on CBC.
On The Current.
I'm Catherine Cullen. Quarterfinals for the FIFA World Cup start today. First up, the winners against Canada, Morocco versus France. We'll talk about Canada's historic run.
Everyone thinks this is hockey country. Not anymore. This is a football country.
What to watch for next and the politics of it all.
Yes, I asked for a review.
That's coming up on The Current.
The Current, this morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. The RCMP in Beaverlodge, Alberta have issued an amber alert for a 6-year-old boy. His name is Lanakai Morrison. He is white, male, with a slight build, long brown hair, and brown eyes. The Mounties say he may be with his mother, Krista Morrison, a 35-year-old female. They say another child, 4-year-old Carl Morrison, may also be traveling with them. She may be driving a black 2015 Toyota Tundra with an Alberta license plate. Anyone who sees them should call 911. The United States says it hit approximately 90 targets inside Iran in a second night of heavy airstrikes. And Tehran is already retaliating, launching airstrikes against American bases in Bahrain, Kuwait, and Qatar. Jordan is also reporting it intercepted several Iranian missiles this morning. This escalation comes as Iran buries its supreme leader in his hometown. Anna Cunningham reports from London.
The US President Donald Trump warned yesterday that there was a possibility he would order further strikes on Iran.
We just hit him very hard.
The confirmation came after a brief stopover in the UK, where he boarded Air Force One, taking off from Mildenhall Air Force Base.
When they hit, we hit back much harder.
Both sides have vowed to escalate retaliation should provocations continue. Iran's top negotiator Mohammed Bakr Kalibaf, writing on social media, says the Strait of Hormuz will be reopened only under Iranian arrangements, not through US threats. Iranian state TV reporting this morning that the disputed Abu Musa island off the Persian Gulf has been hit with 2 projectiles. It is one of 3 islands that Iran and the UAE claim. What was a fragile ceasefire with a memorandum of understanding signed just weeks ago now appears to be being shattered. Kirsten Fontenrose is a former senior director for the Gulf region on the National Security Council during President Trump's first term.
He can put the pressure on, he can take pressure off.
Says Fontenrose, adding,
as long as he indicates we're still in the mood for a deal, we're still willing to talk.
Trump insists Iran still wants a deal, but says,
I just don't know if they're worthy of making a deal. I don't know that they're going to honor the deal. That's the problem.
Air raid alerts are continuing to sound in Bahrain, Kuwait and Qatar as Iran says it has been targeting US military bases. Anna Cunningham, CBC News, London.
For the first time in 26 years, a Canadian Prime Minister is in Saudi Arabia. Mark Carney is meeting with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Carney is trying to deepen trade and diplomatic ties with the kingdom, but the visit comes with some criticism. Saudi Arabia has a long history of human rights violations. Reporters traveling with the Prime Minister will not be allowed to watch the meeting. Last month was the hottest June on record for Western Europe.
Would you like it in a tub or would you like it on a cone? I'll have a cone, please.
Staff hand out ice cream to residents at a care home in northern England. The country is entering its 3rd heat wave of the year. According to the Copernicus Climate Monitoring Service, the average temperature in June was 20.74 degrees Celsius. That is more than 3 degrees higher than the averages recorded between 1991 and 2020. Globally, last month was the 2nd hottest June on record. Scientists say it's a reflection of a climate system that continues to accumulate heat. Graham Plattner is ending his campaign for U.S. Senate. The Democratic candidate was running in the state of Maine, but this week, a woman accused him of rape.
We believe that for the movement to continue, it can't be me. And for that reason, we are suspending campaign operations. This is incredibly difficult because I know that some will think it's an admission of guilt, and it most certainly is not.
Plattner made the announcement last night on X. Fellow Democrats were pressuring him to drop out of the race for U.S. Senate. China and Taiwan are bracing for what could be the region's largest storm in nearly 40 years. Super Typhoon Bavi is churning through the Pacific. Its powerful winds gusting near 200 kilometers an hour. It is expected to skirt past Taiwan before slamming into eastern China this weekend, threatening catastrophic flooding to communities already hit by recent storms. China is still recovering from another typhoon, which killed at least 39 people earlier this week. The City of Montreal and other local officials are facing lawsuits from some residents. They are criticizing the flood management and infrastructure after a thunderstorm caused widespread flooding. Residents say they hope 2 proposed class action cases will ensure it doesn't happen again. Sarah Levitt has more.
We have to fight for our right.
One after another in a packed council chamber, residents of the Montreal borough Dollard des Ormeaux take to the mic, many angry. After hundreds of homes were severely flooded following a massive rainstorm late last month, Environment Canada says between 100 and 170 millimeters of rain fell in the same area. Sheets of damaged drywall and ruined furniture continued to line the streets.
Like so many of you, I was completely shocked at the force of this storm that hit us.
Alex Bataushi is the mayor of Dollard. He says the borough has worked to improve infrastructure, but
municipal infrastructure alone cannot eliminate risk created by extreme weather events.
Now 2 proposed class action lawsuits have been filed against the City of Montreal and 2 boroughs, including Dollard. Jeff Orenstein is a lawyer with Consumer Law Group behind the lawsuits.
There were measures that should have been in place and that some cities are just taking too long to implement.
Those measures include sponge parks, which soak up the rain and slow down the amount of water running into city pipes. Some families, he says, have high insurance premiums because of consistent flooding in the area.
Priority number 1 is to make sure that this is the last flood that takes place.
The City of Montreal said it would not comment on the issue because it is now a legal matter. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Montreal.
The United States is weighing in on a proposed Canadian energy project. It's designed to bypass the U.S. border. Right now, Ontario relies on pipelines running through the U.S. Midwest to receive Alberta oil. But U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra says Washington likes the current system just fine. Business reporter Anis Haidari explains how those comments could undermine the core argument for a multi-billion-dollar Canadian project.
Build it east. It's kind of like interesting. We already have one that goes east.
Pete Hoekstra doesn't see why Ontario needs a new pipeline from Alberta.
We kind of like how the pipelines go into Michigan, through Michigan, into Ontario.
500,000 barrels.
But a pipeline pitched by Alberta Premier Danielle Smith and Ontario Premier Doug Ford would bypass Michigan. That state's governor has tried to shut down the existing Line 5, which ends in Sarnia.
She's leaving?
The governor hasn't been successful, but in its pitch earlier this week, the Ontario government said a new pipeline would strengthen energy security.
If you want to wrap yourself in the flag and say that we're going to be independent of the Americans, this is how we do so.
Grant Sprague is a former deputy minister of energy in Alberta. He says the proposed pipeline would keep Canadian energy in Canada, but it would be extremely expensive and duplicates existing routes.
At the end of the day, my question is, so how scared of the Americans are you? Do you want it as a safety measure? Pretty expensive safety measure.
But that current transborder route, it's pretty useful, says Ambassador Pete Hoekstra.
The Enbridge pipeline, we like to have jet fuel at Detroit Metro.
There's no cost estimate for a theoretical Canada-only pipeline yet, but experts say expect it to be in the tens of billions. Plus, refineries in Sarnia would likely have to expand too. Ontario has already spent $11 million just on the proposal so far. Anis Haidari, CBC News, Calgary.
And finally,
it's a heartache, nothing but a heartache.
Heartache, that is what many music fans are waking up to this morning. Welsh rock icon Bonnie Tyler died last night. The 75-year-old singer died unexpectedly in a Portuguese hospital.
Nothing but a fool's game. Standing in
Tyler was known for her legendary gravelly vocals. She transformed pain into massive global anthems like Total Eclipse of the Heart. Tributes are pouring in from across the music industry today, celebrating a spectacular 5-decade career and a powerhouse voice.
then he lets you down. It ain't right with love to share when you find he doesn't care for you. It ain't wise to need someone as much as I.
That is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Marcia Young.
Oh, it's a heartache, nothing but a heartache. Hits you when it's
Ooh, what song are we going to play of Bonnie Tyler to think about her this hour on the show? We'll see what Corey and Abby picked. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Thanks for joining us. We're live in downtown Winnipeg under a sunny sky on CBC. You're with 89.3. Also on 990 AM on the app or on YouTube. And we hope you're watching on YouTube because we're about to show you a little bit of what the reboot looks like for Little House on the Prairie. A lot of people big fans of the original show and the book, but the reboot was shot entirely in Manitoba. How cool. We're going to meet a local actor who spent over a month on set, standing in for one of the main characters, and also getting a lot of roles behind the scenes to sort of educate people as well about some important aspects that were missed entirely in the original series. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about that. In addition, Winnipeg Punk Fest is happening tomorrow and Saturday. We're going to find out more from the festival's co-organizers about what's going on there. And then to a serious matter, another Manitoba motorcyclist has died. Across the province, there's been 7 motorcycle-related deaths this year. We're going to hear more from the RCMP this hour, so stay tuned on that. That's coming up just before 8 o'clock. Right now, let's go to other news headlines. Heather Wells is in with developments. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, police allege a man arrested in a months-long string of Winnipeg arsons last year had plans to target other places, including Manitoba Health Minister Uzoma Asseguera's constituency office and the CBC. Those unproven allegations emerged in recently unsealed search warrant documents. We'll hear more about that coming up. And 51 local states of emergency are still in effect across Manitoba as communities assess damage from unprecedented flooding. Guy Hammond lives just outside Roblin. He says hundreds of houses have sewer backup damage and so many roads are washed out. He says they needed a team of volunteers to build more roads closed signs. We'll hear from him in our next local news coming up at 7:30.
All right. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
We also have our national team on their way to the Dauphin area this morning to look more at what's happening with the hospital. So Karen Pauls and Tyson Kostick are on the road right now. Let's find out more about the weather. Abby, I just noticed an update here that it started to rain in Lynn Lake this morning.
That's correct, Marcia. The rain just started in the Lynn Lake area as we speak at this time, and that also mixed with the smoke we have in that part of the province. So plus the rain, now we have air quality warning in place there. This is spreading from as far as Flin Flon all the way towards Brochet this morning. We're seeing this thick smoke causing poor visibility in that part of the province. Then we look at conditions down south. We're looking at this special weather statement warning of us of this heat wave that will be hitting us tomorrow afternoon. So we need to prepare for this as this would stretch into the weekend. And by Sunday, we should be getting close to temperatures feeling like a 45. But right now, Winnipeg, 18 degrees. It is sunny outside. We're looking for a hot high of 27 today.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Corey.
The most recent highway closure because of washouts, Highway 221, that's from Marquette to Rosser, just northwest of Winnipeg. So look out for that. And of course, lots of closed highways in western Manitoba, in the Swan Valley region, as well as around Duck Mountain Provincial Park, Roblin, and then Camperville as well. So look out for that if you are hitting the highways. Manitoba 501 is your best place to check out which highways are closed and not, because it seems to be changing by the day. But if you do see something here in the city, seems pretty quiet so far in terms of the commute. But if you're walking your bike and you're driving, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093.
Well, as I mentioned, a brand new Netflix series is rebooting a beloved old story.
Welcome to Independence, Mr. Ingalls.
There's no post office, no church, no school.
What do you think?
So small.
What we wanted, right? Be at the beginning of something.
Hello.
We're building a house nearby. Maybe we're neighbors.
I'd be careful if I were you.
It's nothing free about this land at all. I can't have strangers walking into my house uninvited. I think they'd say the same thing.
Little House on the Prairie, following the Ingalls family as they migrate through the prairies in the 1800s and they settle on the Osage Nation reservation. Now, Little House fans are going to know the reboot was filmed entirely right here in our home in Manitoba. Pretty cool. Today, we're all going to get to see our province's landscape and some of our homegrown talent on screen. My next guest has made some time for CBC. Francois Ducharme is here. The Cree and Métis actor played a couple of different roles on set last summer. I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I heard that Manitoba really packed a punch when putting you guys through it and giving that prairie buggy feel.
It was really a wonderful experience. They really immersed everybody into the whole thing with the wardrobe, the set. It was totally just a one-in-lifetime experience.
No doubt. Tell me a little bit more about the roles that you were playing.
Okay, I initially auditioned for the part of Mitchell. And I didn't get it, but I got the privilege of playing the stand-in for the actor Miguel Fairbrother, who plays Mitchell. And also I had the opportunity to play an Osage councilman for some of the later episodes. So I had to get into the period outfits. We had the whole wool blankets. I had my hair done up in kind of like a little kind of a faux hawk kind of traditional thing like that. I had to wear a loincloth. So it was very accurate. So
yeah.
Yeah, it was.
What was it like for you being in a piece of work that is so iconic? You and I were talking off mic about, I grew up with this, the show, your mom loved the show.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know what? I love television and stuff like that. So when I heard about it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be great. And of course, everybody loves the original series with Michael Landon. Hey, we can't blame him for that. But this one it's a little bit different take, and it's more into in regards to the storybooks, and it really takes you back. And it's such the color palettes, the set, everything was just such a beautiful experience. And it was really a family, like the whole cast and crew really bonded together to get this whole project to get it started and get it done.
Which I suspect is really important, because the feeling of that show was sort of like it was very, without being too saccharine, it was very family.
Yes, for 100%.
Yeah.
And even with when you see casts and stuff like that, everybody was there was a bond immediately. Yeah. When we got on set, and then I was doing stand-in and we have our parts and stuff like that, but you could really see the main cast. They had that. Obviously, they probably had some, they met beforehand and did all of that, but it really comes across on the screen. The emotions are there, and the main cast, top tier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it like for you? I mean, as an Indigenous man, to be in this series, given that obviously the original series faced a lot of criticism. It was for stereotypical racialized portrayals. I understand in the new series, though, that, as you said, follows more the third book, I think, is the story it follows. The Osage perspective is very much treated differently and more historically accurately for people, right?
Yeah. With Mitchell, they have his role.
The neighbor of the Ingalls, right?
Yes, exactly. So his character he's mixed. So he's Osage, and then have some of the settler mix in there. So he's kind of an interpreter. So it was nice to have that kind of Indigenous perspective and stuff like that. And there's a couple scenes where it kind of, like in the trailer, it comes off maybe a little bit of tense, but you could tell that with Mitchell and with Paul Ingalls, with that whole dynamic with them, their characters, it just shows that there's a whole of like understanding, and it really comes across. And then I also had an opportunity to, they wanted to keep authentic for the Indigenous perspective. So they had a scene where they set up some rabbit snares, and it was in an open field. And then they actually, Miguel knew that my grandfather used to be a trapper. So he kind of like asked me, and I was like, actually, you know what? It's in a field. So it's not going to be so out in the field. It's going to be a little bit closer to the brush line, and there's going to be a little bit of a game trail. So they allowed me to kind of
make it more accurate.
Exactly, for sure. Because I know there's going to be some people from up there like, hey, that's not how it's done. So, and then I had my grandpa's in the back of my ears like, that's not how they do it. So
I love that. So you made it true to what you know from your own family.
And it was I was pretty surprised. I don't want to say surprised, but it was just I was happy that they allowed for that to happen.
I mean, the historical detail too. I mean, overall, as you've alluded to, though, incredible. We've done some interviews about the clothing, how it was stitched really by hand to make it look proper. What was it like to be on set? Like, describe this for us. It was out in Cooks Creek, right?
Yes. The whole set. It was up to code, but like they would have they'd have a 2-story building, but they're like, try not to have more than 10 people on set. So it was up to code, but it's not, up to standard. It was accurate. They had like the old kind of glass windows that you see in kind of period. It looks a little bit kind of like little, like it's not completely clear. So they had like all those small details. They really paid attention to that. And wardrobe, oh my God, it was really something. Every single day, it was usually early mornings, and we'd get up, we'd be driving out to the city, and the sun would be coming up. And then I remember driving out there, the fields were short, and then at the end of it, the fields were just nice and high. Sun's coming out, mornings, pulling up to set, and then you just come out there, and then you'd see the whole town of Independence pulling up, and then everybody's in their period accurate costumes, and it was really something. Sometimes I had to pinch myself a few times there.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
There really is. I mean, I was born and raised here as well, so the appreciation for the prairie, as you're describing it, like I can see it as you're talking about the sun coming up over the grass as it grows and sways.
Yeah.
Yeah, we live on beautiful land here, don't we? The second season's already filming in Manitoba. Are you going to be part of it?
Well, because we're in Kansas. Like the first season is located in Independence, Kansas, and then the second season they move on. So we have some of the people who played like the townsfolk and stuff like that, and I'm guessing that it's going to be I'm sure it's going to be a hit. So there's going to be people are like, hey, that's that guy from Independence, So unfortunately, I don't want to say unfortunately, like I'm not part of this second season.
You're going to be left behind in town.
Exactly. I'm still in Independence, just setting the cornerstones to all the stuff there. So
okay, spoiler alert, because I remember from the first show, as you said, this is different. This is a reboot, but different, and even a different tone because it's more based on the book. But I mean, they had characters that were really, some of them were outlandish, but like Nellie and was always the young girl to hate,
Yeah.
They kind of set her up that way. Do they copy all of the characters, or they just sort of the main family and then they introduce different aspects?
Yeah, they had the main family, and Carrie, the youngest sister, isn't born yet. So okay, I didn't realize that. So it's set a little bit further in time. So it's Laura and Mary.
Laura and Mary are there. So cool. What's your plan for today? Are you doing a watch party or anything fun?
I am going to go watch after work. I'm going to go there, and then I'm planning our episodes. Some of the other Osage councilmen. I had the privilege of working with my buddy Jason Mason. He plays Lips on Acting Good. He was another stand-in. Yeah, so he was another stand-in with me, and then we had just a wonderful experience doing that whole thing. So I'm going to try and get something done where maybe we're going to try and watch your episode and then do a little reaction to that stuff. So
I love that. Enjoy it. Thanks so much for coming in and taking us behind the scenes a little. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So Francois Ducharme, Winnipeg actor, happens to be Korean Métis and also in Little House on the Prairie's reboot. So you can watch Netflix. The reboot of Little House on the Prairie, entirely shot in Manitoba. So cool. I love that. Is out now, so you can check it out. And I'm sure maybe you have your own watch party. And if you want to weigh in this morning, why are you watching? What did you watch in the old series? What are you hoping to see in this one? 788-3205. It was certainly iconic for generations.
On the topics that matter, your voice should be heard.
It looks like this is maybe a one-day blip when farmers across the province need hot and dry.
Radio Noon is where you can voice your take.
In general, it's harder to find a job even if you're educated.
I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. From 12:15 to 1 p.m., Radio Noon opens the phone lines on one important topic.
When I was 5 or 6, my parents gave me seeds and helped me plant them. That was probably close to 70 years ago. And here I am still gardening.
It just brings everyone together. Radio Noon's call-in segment, 204-780-0893. We want to hear from you weekdays on CBC.
Great conversation there with Francois Ducharme. He's also, by the way, going to be in a movie, or he is in a movie called Many Wounds, and you can check that out coming up at the Gimli Film Festival as well. Has quite a cast. Mainly sunny, 18 degrees. Still ahead on the program to serious matters. There's been another fatal motorcycle crash in Manitoba. Here's what our CMP have had to say about it.
So over the last 5 years, we've ranged from 2 to 6 per year. Yeah, we're at the maximum number already this year.
So we're going to talk to a Manitoba motorcycle advocate about what is concerning her, about the details that we know about the latest crash, but also about the others in Manitoba and the trend. I'm going to be careful with that word, about the recent incidents that have happened here. So stay tuned. That's coming up just before 8 o'clock. Right now it is time for Morning Sports. Scott Reguer joins us, 7:25 a.m. Hello.
Hey, Marcy.
So funny how I felt like I was in withdrawal yesterday. I went home to watch soccer.
You and I both, and many others, I'm sure.
I know. So today the World Cup quarterfinals do get underway. There's a compelling matchup in Boston.
Play it once, Sam. Play as time goes by.
You must remember. For many, Marcy, the classic film Casablanca is the first thing to come to mind when they think Morocco. Not footy fans, though. They think of defender Ashraf Hakimi sprinting down the wing and crossing balls into the box. They think of goalie Yassine Bono stopping shots at point-blank range. And they think of Brahim Diaz wreaking havoc in the Moroccan midfield. All three players played a big part in ousting Canada from this World Cup. And now they will try to do the same against France today, which will be no easy feat. The French, Marcy, are the consensus favorites to win it all. And Moroccan coach Mohamed Ouabi was asked whether a part of him isn't just happy to be involved in this game.
When people say the tournament has already been a success for us, my answer remains the same. You can only draw conclusions at the end of it all. I will never be satisfied with something when I think we could have achieved more. We aren't going to listen to people telling us, you've already done brilliantly. It's no big deal if you lose. France are the favorites, or anything like that. We want to win, and we're going to do everything we can to win. And that's that.
It's clear to see where Ouabi's resolve comes from. Just a few months ago, Morocco won the African Championship, while at the last World Cup, the Atlas Lions became the first team from their continent to make it to the semifinals. Of course, it was France who eliminated them that day. So Ouabi's players have that bit of incentive to fuel them as they play this afternoon.
And Mbappe is amazing, so wow.
Yes, he is.
What's France saying ahead of this?
Coach Didier Deschamps says Morocco are an attacking side that his team will not be taking lightly. Deschamps also says Les Bleus will not let off-field controversies become a distraction. From racist remarks aimed at star striker Kylian Mbappe to a denial by FIFA to have midfielder Michael Olise's yellow card rescinded, there's been a lot going on, which includes questions over possibly biased refereeing at this tournament. Deschamps, though, says he has no such concerns.
Of course, you might find yourself questioning things. My stance is simply that the appointments are made, and there's nothing to be done about it. I hope that our officials will be just as good as Monsieur Le Texier and his team were in the other match. Naturally, there are always decisions that spark debate, but for me, the opponent is Morocco. I don't view the referee as an opponent. Quite the opposite. He is there to ensure the laws of the game are applied as fairly as possible.
So let's hope Deschamps' trust is warranted. The officiating crew for this afternoon's quarterfinal is all from one country, which doesn't happen very often. They're all from Argentina. Remember, France and Argentina have faced off in high-stakes matches recently, with the French eliminating the Argentines in the 2018 World Cup before they got eliminated by Argentina in the final themselves in 2022. So food for thought, if nothing else.
All right, to the other kind of football, we're still not sure who's going to play quarterback for the Bombers tomorrow night.
Right, as they get set to host Toronto, Zach Collaros is listed as questionable with a neck injury sustained in the last game. Drew Brown, in his second go-round with the team, has only been with the Bombers for a couple of weeks. It's uncertain how much he's absorbed the playbook. And then you have rookie Taylor Elgersma, who's still relatively green, despite not exactly lighting it up in what wound up a narrow win over Hamilton. Running back Brady Oliveira says he likes what he saw from Elgersma.
There's different parts where maybe I speed up a little bit. And I remember Taylor looking back at me after one of the plays and was like, dude, you got to slow down a little bit. I'm like, oh, yeah, sorry. I'm not used to working, getting those meshes with you. So there's a lot going on. Obviously, when you get thrown in there with live reps, for young guys, it's difficult. But then at the quarterback position, when you have to manage everyone, you didn't look young in that sense by any means. It was really cool to see.
Love hearing Brady Oliveira. Bombers looking to go to 3-2 tomorrow night with a possible win over the Argos.
All right, thanks a lot, Scott.
You betcha.
That is Scott Regehr live with Morning Sports here on CBC. Hopefully your Thursday is going well, or we like to call it Junior Friday around here. Nice and sunny in Winnipeg currently. And still ahead, we have your local news at 7:30 coming up. And then move over Folk Fest. Well, or maybe in addition to Folk Fest, you can enjoy some punk music this weekend. Folk Festival does kick off today in Birds Hill Park, but Punk Fest is on. Also, we're going to hear all about it. It is July 10th and 11th, happening at Side Stage here in Winnipeg. So the co-organizers of Punk Fest are going to be in studio with us after your CBC News from Manitoba.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg at 7:30, 18 degrees, nice bright sky out there. We will see more clouds move in, a mix of sun and clouds today, bit of a southerly breeze and a high of 27 with a good chance of showers moving in this evening. We are learning more about a man charged in a string of arsons across Winnipeg last year. Search warrant documents allege Jesse Wheatland had plans to target other places, including the CBC and the Office of Manitoba's Health Minister. CBC's Caitlin Garlick reports.
Police allege when they arrested a man charged in more than a dozen arsons last year, he was carrying a notebook. Inside, they say, was a list of future potential targets, including healthcare workers, the train station, CBC, and Health Minister Uzoma Asaguera's office. Those unproven allegations are among many police made in recently unsealed search warrant documents. Jesse Wheatland is charged in a months-long string of arsons throughout 2025, including at restaurants, clubs, a provincial treatment center on Magnus Avenue, and the constituency offices of Cabinet Ministers Nahanni Fontaine and Bernadette Smith. Police say some of the targets were hit more than once. Wheatland remains in custody and is scheduled to stand trial next year. Caitlin Gowerluck, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Wheatland's lawyer did not respond to a request for comment. A Winnipeg area municipality isn't telling voters the names of its candidates until weeks before the election. The provincial government isn't thrilled about it. CBC's Bartley Kivas has that story.
Voters in East St. Paul choose a new mayor and council in October. Officially, whose running is a secret. East St. Paul doesn't plan to reveal the names of candidates until nominations close in late September. Chief Administrative Officer Suzanne Ward says no legislation compels her municipality to post the names of registered candidates earlier. Municipal Relations Minister Glenn Simard says while that's true, his government advises municipalities to post the names of candidates as soon as they register. Simard says this improves transparency, openness, fairness, and public trust. Brian Watchko, who says he's running for council in East St. Paul, doesn't like the secrecy.
If somebody comes to my door saying that they're a potential candidate, I should have the ability to contact the elections office and say, is this person legitimate?
Watchko also says potential candidates have no way of knowing who they might be running against. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Dauphin's Hospital won't fully reopen anytime soon. The head of Prairie Mountain Health warns in a letter obtained by CBC News, service disruptions will last months, and healthcare services will likely be restored on a staggered basis. No timelines have been set. Doffin's hospital closure comes after heavy rains last week poured into that facility's basement, knocking out power, forcing the relocation of dozens of patients. The health authority says critical infrastructure was also damaged. An assessment clinic has been set up in Dauphin, but it only helps patients with basic care. More serious health issues are being directed to other communities. The Association of Manitoba Municipalities says the flood emergency reveals a significant communication gap for people in St. Lazare. The town of about 200 doesn't have proper cell phone service. AMM President Kathy Valentino says that is unacceptable.
This clearly shows that we need to connect our province. When we have emergencies, they should be able to use cell phones, and they're struggling. We have to have some infrastructure investment to get us connected as a province. We cannot have this no more where there's no cell phone service.
Valentino says St. Lazare needs a cell phone tower. She wants the provincial and federal governments to put pressure on the phone companies. Floodwaters may be receding in some Manitoba municipalities, but 51 local states of emergency are still in effect. The top priorities: cleanup and rebuilding. Guy Hammond is volunteering in his hometown of Roblin. He says hundreds of houses have sewer backup damage. And when the flooding was at its peak, Hammond was one of the 30 volunteers helping to pump water. And he says that volunteer spirit continues.
They've run out of road closed signs, another example. So on Sunday, there was 8 local volunteers came to the farm here, picked up lumber, and they built 50 road closed signs in an afternoon.
Hammond says the most pressing issue in the Roblin area is rebuilding washed-out roads and bridges. Well, a new drone lending library in Manitoba is going to help small construction companies modernize. The Manitoba Construction Sector Council is buying drones and training people with funding from the federal government. The new technology helps companies with things like mapping, site assessments, and construction design. Carol Paul of the Construction Council says Manitoba's 10 years behind the rest of the country.
There's really that resistance to change and doing things the way we've always done them, and I get it. But if we don't find some strategies to help our small, medium-sized companies adapt to change, we're going to be left behind in the dust.
That drone lending library is expected to open in October. You can find the latest news updated throughout the day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
I need help with pronunciation.
Okay.
You might know this. There is a word that's in an email a listener sent that I want to read in a moment. But they talk about, I think it's a word for a botanical garden area, arboretum. Have you ever heard that word?
I've heard of arborists, but...
Me too. Okay. I'm going to look. This is a new word. I like learning new words every day. So here we go. Thanks, Hev.
Thank you. I didn't do anything, but thanks.
You did. You helped me because I'm thinking arborist or whatever, because at first I thought it was a typo, and it is not a typo. We are giving away tickets to Brandon Summer Music Festival. So stay tuned. We're going to talk more about that, the Salamander Summer Music Festival in Brandon, that is, in a moment. But right now, let's go to Abby for the weather.
Yes, Marcy, we have smoke warnings in effect for the northern parts of the province, while for the south, we have this special weather statement as we prepare for this extreme heat coming our way into the weekend period. For Winnipeg right now, we're looking at the sunny conditions. This will give way to a mix of sun and clouds later in the day as we warm up to 27 with a humidity around 32, along with some windy conditions as we see temperatures currently around 18 degrees here in the city. For the other regions in the south, from Modern towards Port La Prairie, we're seeing 17 there. Sunny. We're aiming for a high of 27. There's a slim chance of afternoon showers in the forecast in the Pembina Valley region. Then we go west, Brandon towards Nipawin. Sunny also, 14 degrees at this time, aiming for a high of 27. There's a good chance of showers this afternoon. In the Parkland region, Dauphin towards Russell, cloudy at 19 at this time, a high of 26. Gimli is sunny at 16, reaching a high of 26 later. Then we go into the northern part of the province where we have this wildfire smoke triggering poor air quality across the regions. The power flame and sunny. We will see partly cloudy skies move in later, 18, 17, depending on where you are at this time, hitting a smoky high of 24 with rain beginning sometime this morning. Around the Norway House area towards Thompson, we're seeing temperatures between 14 and 16 degrees with light rain falling at this time. tracking to a smoky high close to 27 degrees. Lynn Lake is also experiencing local smoke and rain at this time, 13, aiming for a high of 22. Then we look at Gillam towards Tudula Lake, both regions seeing sunny conditions to partly cloudy skies, 9 degrees, 12 degrees. We'll see highs close to 25 in that region. And then for the Churchill and York region, we're looking at a sunny 12 degrees at this time. No smoke warning in that part of the province, but we just see highs close to 18. So it's more about clear, hot southern regions against the smoky, hazy north. For Winnipeg right now, we're experiencing this beautiful sunny start to the day. Current temperatures 18, and we will warm close to 27 today.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Corey Funk, what's up?
The most recent highway closure because of washouts, Highway 221 from Marquette to Rosser. That's just northwest of Winnipeg. So look out for that, of course. Lots of closed highways as well in northwestern Manitoba there in the southern region there. We're talking around South Swan River as well as Duck Mountain Provincial Park, and then as well up in Camberville and even as far down as Roblin. Lots of closed highways around there. So look out for that. If you do see something else going on, though, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. Quiet commute so far in Winnipeg, 204-788-3093.
All right, thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's particularly different too, bad in those areas this year because it's not even just the overland flooding and washouts. It's areas where they had to intentionally cut the road to relieve the pressure from all the water. So, I mean, those areas will be closed for a very long time. We're going to take you to Swan River Live actually after 8 and talk to a couple that's flooding has sent them out of their home not once this summer, but already twice. So we'll talk to them about how they're doing. Well, I mentioned and asked Heather how to pronounce a word, and you're about to hear why. We have tickets to the Salamander Summer Music Festival that is coming up July 17th to 19th in Rideau Park in Brandon. And so if you want to check it out, we have asked you for simply a musical memory, and you've been writing to us with a few. So here is one that came in from Sharon. She said, too many performances and festivals to choose one, but Brandon used to have a festival at the Keystone Center grounds. So it was a natural amphitheater. There was camping. There was this old arboretum. See, I'm saying it wrong probably. But such beautiful mature trees for shade, Sharon says. You kind of forgot you're in the middle of a city, and we used to go every year. Haven't been to this new Salamander Festival at Rideau Park yet, but maybe this will be the first of many great memories to be made there. So thanks for writing in to us. Sharon lives in Glenora. She wrote to us with her entry today. And then one more quick one to share here. This one came in by email. I just bought a little tape recorder when I was 10 years old. I convinced my mom to sing with me on this tape recorder. And when I rewound the recorder to listen to what I thought would be beautiful, harmonious rendition, it sounded like two cackling hens. And we never sang together again, which makes me sad. Keep singing. But this entry says, I'm not sure I ever use the recorder again. I was so disappointed in its recording ability, those old recorders back in the day. Thanks for the entries. Those are just two of many that we're getting in here. You do have until the end of today to enter. We'll announce the winner tomorrow of the festival. Well, Sharon said it. There's so many different festivals going on. The Winnipeg Folk Fest kicks off today, but if you're looking for something a little louder, maybe you want to go to this.
Not bad being stuck in a rut.
A little bit of music from Rut, from Australian punk band Smack Youth. They're in town for Winnipeg Punk Fest. So Taha Khan is with us, and Kayla Wilding, the organizers of the festival. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
How is it going? How are you guys?
Good. I'm good. We're good. It's Thursday. We call it Junior Friday around here. You guys are waking us up with Punk Fest. Tell us a bit about what's in the bill this year.
Well, we have a lot of really, really nice, amazing bands. So on July 10th, we have Grizzly Adams, which is one of my other bands. I play bass in it. We have Burn After Listening. We have a band named Chloe. And a good thing about it is nobody's named Chloe in that band. They just call a band named Chloe.
We have a Chloe
It's
here.
awesome.
She'll have to go.
And then we have a band called Toaster Bath. We have a band called Hippo. And then obviously one of our favorite headliners, Smack Youth. They're flying in all the way from Australia just to come and finish their tour in Winnipeg at Winnipeg Punk Fest.
Yeah, so all the bands listed prior to Smack Youth are
local bands, a lot of really talented musicians in this city. So.
Yeah. Tell me then about the local punk scene right now and what that looks like in Winnipeg.
Thriving, absolutely thriving. Yeah, there's a lot going on. It's hard to keep up with sometimes, but yeah, there's something going on every weekend, pretty much.
And is it what's driving the thriving of that? Is it I don't know, musical mentorship? Is it come play with me? You know, we'll jam together. Is it younger bands coming up? Like, what's driving it?
Sheer passion and community. It's like quite a mix. Like on that first night, Toaster Bath and Hippo, the crew there are like some solid foundation of the scene that have been around for years. Burn After Listening and a band named Chloe are newer bands that have only come up in like the last couple of years, and then Grizzly Adams just formed a year and a half ago.
This is going to be our second show.
Yeah.
We're opening up Winnipeg Punk Fest.
Yeah. What's the diversity like in terms of ages of people that are getting into punk music right now?
Well, now this generation, from what we have observed, is a lot of more younger, even like under 18 people are starting to come at punk shows and filling up all these buildings. Last year, we chose an all ages venue because we did not know what our community outreach would be, but we were surprised. Like more than 50% of our tickets sold were younger people, more newer generation.
Yeah, we had I noticed like last year. That's why the all ages thing was really important. There's a lot of people, like young kids, that are wanting to come out to shows and stuff. So a lot of that. And then there's also a lot of people that have like recently aged in, which I'm like starting to see out at like the regular shows at, the 18 plus venues and stuff like that too.
I was going to ask you about how age appropriate everything is, because punk music, has a stereotype stigma around it for being like every song is going to be swearing and nothing's age appropriate, right? So what do you say to that?
I mean, come on, what 16-year-old doesn't drop an F-bomb once in a while? Let's be real. So
thank you.
Doesn't really matter.
I like to be real. Yes, thank you. But shows are marked 18 plus, right? So like people can decide what they're going to, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like honestly, with some of the band names, like you could do your research, and really if you want to bring like a younger kid, do your research, and if you don't feel like it's appropriate, then don't bring them.
Yeah. This is happening at Side Stage.
It is happening
right?
at Side Stage on July 10th and 11th.
Why did you get into punk music? What is it that draws you in?
Well, when I came to Canada, I was already a musician back when I was in Pakistan. When I came to Canada, I was looking for an outlet for music, and I just got roped into punk scene, and all of my friends were like, "Oh yeah, you should listen to punk music. This is amazing. This is good for you." It gets a lot of frustration and anger out. It's fun. It's jumpy. It's rocky. You'll want to jam out to it.
Did you make punk music in Pakistan, or was it a new thing for you here?
This was a completely new thing for me. Like, I was a blues fusion guitar player before, and then I came over here. I started listening to punk music, and then I formed my own death metal band. But even our whole like push that we got for even my own personal band was through punk music, because we played with so many punk bands that even adding that punk element into death metal music became like a huge part of also my other band.
Because there's subgenres to punk people might not realize, really, right? There's pop punk, heavy metal punk, death metal punk, as you said, right?
Yeah, well, you can make a genre out of anything.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
How about you? How'd you get into it?
Well, sorry.
That's okay.
When
Have
I was
a sip of water, no worries.
When I was, my dad was a punk. When back in the day, when I was 7 years old, he gifted me his collection of cassette tapes, and that kind of kicked it off. So
so I got to dig into that. So cassette tapes, do you remember any of them? Like, what were you listening to?
Oh yeah, Dead Kennedys, Plastic Surgery Disasters, DOA, The Great White North, some of The Clash, The Cure, all that stuff, and then that just like kicked it off for me. So DOA and Dead Kennedys were the first like punk bands I listened to, and that just set me off right on it. And yeah. Then discovered more bands along the way growing up, and now here I am.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about what you think the show's going to feel like when you're playing.
Amazing. Like,
excited?
Just the crowd energy, just like people coming up and pushing you up, and they're supporting you from the crowd. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. My band played last year because we had a band drop, so we filled in last minute because, just out of convenience. And I will tell you, it is a whole different feeling.
Thanks for coming in. Where can people get more information if they want to go? They want to read about the bands and tickets?
Yeah. So you can go to our Instagram, Winnipeg Punk Fest. We have bios of all the bands posted on our page. There's ticket links and everything. You can also go to the Side Stage site, or Instagram, Facebook, whatever.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you for having us.
So if you want to head out to Punk Fest, it is this weekend. We've had Taha Khan and Kayla Wilding in studio, co-organizers of the festival. It's in its third year. If you haven't been before, July 10th, 11th, side stage, as we mentioned. And you can check out online if you want to get tickets. Time right now is 13 minutes to 8 o'clock.
This is your heart. This is your
related deaths so far this year. According to Winnipeg Police, there's been one fatality in the city. And RCMP say this latest death makes it 6 in rural areas. Sergeant Mark Hume spoke to CBC's Sophia Peralta-Barone.
In this last one, the motorcycle did lose control in a curve.
How does this year compare to last year for the average amount of motorcycle deaths?
So over the last 5 years, we've ranged from 2 to 6 per year. So yeah, we're at the maximum number already this year with a couple, 2-3 months left to go in good motorcycle weather. 5 crashes with 6 deaths.
And of those crashes, were other motorcycles or vehicles involved?
Of those 5, 3 of the motorcycles had lost control themselves. 1 failed to yield at an intersection. And in the 5th one, another motor vehicle failed to yield and hit the motorcycle.
And why do you think that is? What's a contributing factor here?
There seems to be no real pattern. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and they ebb and flow every year, unfortunately. They kind of go up and down. I think it's important that motorcycle riders or drivers realize they have to drive within their abilities, not just within the laws.
That was RCMP Sergeant Mark Hume speaking to CBC's Sophia Peralta-Barone about the most recent motorcycle-related death in our province. So officials say that investigation is still ongoing. The death, of course, is not just another number. It's a person. It's a huge loss for many. Mary Johnson is one of those people feeling the impact. She's president of the Coalition of Manitoba Motorcycle Groups, and she's with us now. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Marcy.
So what is the impact on you? What's it like to hear about the latest death and the number of them that we've had this year on motorcycles?
It's devastating. It's like losing a family member. I know for the family, it's just horrible. And we send our condolences to them and hugs to them and tell them to take care of themselves, but also to motorcyclists. We're like one family in Manitoba. We don't have huge numbers like we do in other provinces. So it's a close-knit community. So when one person goes down, we all mourn with them and revisit and relook at our riding and how we're going to cope with this.
This death happened in the White Shell, just north of West Hawk Lake. I mentioned exactly where it was. What are your thoughts on that area as a motorcyclist? I know you've ridden through there.
I have ridden through it. I have avoided it most recently for the last few years because of the conditions of the road. They're narrow roads. They don't have any shoulders, and oftentimes there's erosion on the sides of the road, so you have to be really careful, and there are potholes. I don't know particularly where the accident occurred. I know they have done some patchwork on that highway. I don't know if it was done in that area, but you do have to be super careful. And the other thing is we tend to be flatlanders, and we don't have any curves in much of the rest of Manitoba, so that when you're coming from the west, traveling east and going into the White Shell, you're now in curves and you're now in hills. So it's a different riding experience. You have to really adapt your riding to those conditions and ignore the speed signs, because I think it's 80 and I would never do 80 on my motorcycle in the roads in that condition.
So when you say you avoid it, what do you mean? Do you avoid taking your motorcycle there because of, as you described, some of the conditions?
Yes.
Yeah. You drive through there if you're going instead? Do you take a car?
We drove through there with the truck just about a month and a half ago. And it just confirmed that I wasn't going to be riding my motorcycle there in the near future.
How does the riding experience change when you're in a group ride anywhere, but also in that kind of terrain where there's, elevation and curves and no shoulders?
In a group ride, you have to be really, really conscious of your own skill, how you ride yourself. So for myself, I would stay to the back of a group ride so that I have my own and leave lots of space between me and the rider in front of me. And I would not try to keep up. I would make sure that I was riding to my level of experience.
You mentioned that, after the latest death, the community, it really is a community of people that ride in Manitoba, kind of reflects What came out of that reflection, or what's coming up for you in terms of moving forward as you think about these deaths this summer already?
I mean, we will reinforce. CMMG has been working on an ad campaign with Manitoba Public Insurance with MPI, and part of the most recent one coming out will be focusing on group riding and riding safe, riding your own ride, so that you're conscious of who you are on that motorcycle. It should be coming out shortly. Actually, we should be seeing that very soon.
Okay, so you worked on them with and did some research with them, I understand, with MPI.
Yeah, MPI did a lot of the research and went back checking out the fatalities, the motorcycle injuries. We didn't look at the cause of the accidents. We just looked sort of at the results of them.
And can you share a little bit of what they found in terms of about what the causes were if you look at the past 5 years?
The causes vary. They definitely vary. It's the rider themselves and the actions they take. It's road conditions. It's all sorts of different things. But one of the things that really stood out for me was the results showed that 92% of the accidents were of riders that were male riders that were between 16 and 35. The stats this year with the deaths that we've seen this year are not those riders at all. These are by the ages alone. I won't assume that they're all seasoned riders because I didn't start riding till I was 50. So, but obviously I know some of them and they ride all the time. They're weekly riders. They're always out there. So this latest, it seems to be a different sort of trend, or not a trend, but maybe the circumstances.
So it's possible something else is a factor.
Yeah.
You talked about the fact that you're not sure that all these people are seasoned riders despite the age, but they are maybe older riders.
Right.
What do you think though needs to be done for safety to improve for seasoned riders? I'm wondering what you think on that front.
Yeah. Well, CMMG has been lobbying for rider training or refresher courses. There is a course that's available through Safety Services Manitoba for riders for upgrading their skills, but it's costly, and a lot of riders that are already riding don't tend to see the need for it, or maybe they think if they go take it, they may fail. I don't know, but we are pushing to have that extra course there available for people who want to take it. And also, and just on that, to have some incentive to take it. So, say I've been riding now for 25 years. It seems like yesterday I started, but for me to go and take that course what's the incentive? I'm riding fine now. I haven't had an accident for 24 years. So what's my incentive to take it?
Do you have an idea of what an effective incentive could be?
What we were asking for is a discount on insurance premiums, similar to when you take the 2-day riding course. When you learn to ride, you get a discount on your premium.
Okay.
So we were looking at something like that. If a seasoned rider were to take this, a discount on their premium that would show that they're being a safe rider and taking responsibility for their riding.
Mary, thank you very much for being with us this morning. Appreciate your time and perspective.
All right, thank you.
That's Mary Johnson with us live, the president of the Coalition of Manitoba Motorcycle Groups. Still ahead, after 8 o'clock, it's 3 minutes to. We're going to hear from a Manitoba couple in Swan Valley West. As we mentioned, they're cleaning up after their home was flooded twice.
Just an added stress to an already stressful situation. And we're physically exhausted, we're mentally exhausted.
We'll find out more about how they're coping and what they say needs to change when it comes to the flood response from municipalities in their area. So stay tuned for that. It is 18 in Winnipeg, mainly sunny this Thursday morning. Thanks for being here with us on CBC. A high of 27, humidex 32, a chance of showers and a risk of a thunderstorm tonight. But for most of the day, not so much. We do have smoke and air quality issues in a wide swath of northern Manitoba this morning. So if you're around Flin Flon, Thompson, Norway, Leaf Puck, Brochet, Taduli, you're going to have air quality issues because of wildfires. And then be careful because next week, and starting really tomorrow and turning through the weekend next week, we've got extreme heat coming our way. Right now, a reminder to check with Corey Funk if you have a problem with, call Corey Funk rather if you have a problem with the commute. 788-3093. That's the traffic line, 788-3093. And now to Heather Wells with those headlines.
Police allege a man arrested in a months-long string of Winnipeg arsons last year had plans to target other places, including Manitoba Health Minister Uzoma Asseguera's constituency office and the CBC. Those unproven allegations emerged in recently unsealed search warrant documents. And a town councillor in St. Lazare says the lack of cell service in that area is frustrating and dangerous. The Western Manitoba town is dealing with flooding on the Assiniboine, but because of gaps in cell service, they can't warn property owners. Councillor Devin Gurniak says the towers in the valley aren't in operation. I'll be back with more on those stories and other news from Manitoba coming up at 8:30.
All right, thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Heather Wells live from our news department. And now World Report. It's 1 minute to 8.
On cue.
Hi, I'm Jill Deacon, sitting in for Tom Power. When Zoe Whittall decided to switch up genres and write a romance novel, she thought she'd write it under a new name, Frankie Scott. Zoe will tell you the unwritten rules of writing romance.
I've never shied away from writing spicy scenes.
Cue. This morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current.
I'm Catherine Cullen. Quarterfinals for the FIFA World Cup start today. First up, the winners against Canada, Morocco versus France. We'll talk about Canada's historic run, what to watch for next, and the politics of it all. That's coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. RCMP in Beaver Lodge, Alberta have issued an Amber Alert for a 6-year-old boy. His name is Lanakai Morrison. He's white, male, with a short, slight build, light brown hair, and brown eyes. The Mounties say he may be with his mother, Krista Morrison, a 35-year-old female. They're believed to be with her partner, Danielle Ludwig, and another child, 4-year-old Carl Morrison. She may be driving a black 2015 Toyota Tundra with an Alberta license plate. Anyone who sees them should call 911. Prime Minister Mark Carney is in Saudi Arabia today for what can best be described as a formal reset of relations. Canada and the Gulf Kingdom only reestablished their diplomatic ties in 2023 after nearly a decade. Today's visit, however, is being overshadowed by the collapse of the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran. The CBC's Murray Brewster is in Jeddah with the latest.
And what we have to make sure is that peace is maintained and the Strait of Hormuz is open.
Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand trying to deliver a message of reassurance under fire. A Saudi vessel was hit by an Iranian strike near the Strait of Hormuz, drawing outrage from the kingdom and expressions of sympathy and support conveyed directly today to the Saudi Foreign Minister by Anand.
Canada agrees with you that Iran's attacks on civilian vessels are completely unjustified.
Militarily, Canada has very little to contribute to the defense of the kingdom, but Anand says it stands ready to help with demining once a permanent ceasefire is achieved, something she still believes is possible, even though U.S. President Donald Trump yesterday declared the ceasefire over and says he isn't interested in talking with the Iranians anymore. All of this is complicating Prime Minister Mark Carney's high-profile attempt to reset the relationship with the Saudis. Dennis Horak is a former Canadian ambassador to Saudi Arabia who was expelled after the Trudeau government's human rights criticism of the Saudis. He says Carney's mission is to get the dialogue back on track.
Certainly having this sort of high-level contact makes a difference, sends a signal.
During her meeting with her counterpart, Anand says she raised human rights and consular cases, the most high-profile of which involves blogger Raif Badawi, who remains trapped in the kingdom and unable to travel and reunite with his Canadian family. Murray Brewster, CBC News, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia.
U.S. President Donald Trump ditched his Qatari-gifted jet to fly home from the NATO summit. It was in favor of the old Air Force One. The sudden switch was prompted by strict guidance from the Secret Service. It's raising concerns, security concerns, about the controversial $400 million aircraft. Reports suggest the Qatari plane completely lacks critical missile defense countermeasures. For more, we're joined by the CBC's Chris Reyes in New York. And Chris, why exactly did the Secret Service step in and recommend the president switch back to the old aircraft for his flight out of Turkey?
We're not getting a direct answer on this one from the Secret Service or the president. Trump was dismissive of security concerns, saying that the new Air Force One was actually being sent to Europe so soldiers could look at it. On social media, Trump said the plane was sent to an air base in the UK. But during the NATO summit, Trump did repeatedly raise concerns over being assassinated as U.S.-Iran hostilities resumed. Turkey shares a border with Iran. Here's what he told reporters.
I'm number one on the kill list for Iran. They're lovely people. I'm number one. I don't really care because I'm doing my job and I'm doing it, I hope, better than anybody's ever done it.
So what do we know about the defensive gaps on this new Qatari-gifted plane?
Well, according to some reporting, the new plane doesn't have the same advanced missile detection system as the old Air Force One, and that the Secret Service urged the switch. A White House spokesperson countered that, saying that the new Air Force One is state-of-the-art, fitted with high-level security protocols. On the flight back from Turkey, President Trump was asked by one reporter why they were told to bring the window shades down. He told the reporter that the flight is probably a dangerous one because of the Iranian leadership that the U.S. is dealing with, calling them sleazebags.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
The CBC's Chris Reyes reporting from New York. Graham Plattner is ending his campaign for the U.S. Senate. The Democratic candidate was running in the state of Maine, but this week a woman accused him of rape.
We believe that for the movement to continue, it can't be me. And for that reason, we are suspending campaign operations. This is incredibly difficult because I know that some will think it's an admission of guilt, and it most certainly is not.
Plattner made the announcement last night on X. Fellow Democrats were pressuring him to drop out of the race for U.S. Senate. Western Europe experienced its hottest June on record. That is according to the Copernicus Climate Monitoring Service. It shows the average temperature last month was more than 3 degrees higher than the averages recorded between 1991 and 2020. Reporter Ross Cullen joins me now from Paris. And Ross, give us some of the highlights of this report.
This report shows that it was the second hottest June on record worldwide, but the hottest June that we've ever seen in Western Europe. Just relentless heat across the continent. There have been other points to note that the heat wave has caused drought conditions. We now see below average river flow across Europe, especially in France and the east of the continent. We have seen a real impact on crops because of the wildfires, which the report also notes they are spreading across France and Spain. And sea ice, the cover of ice across the whole Arctic region, was below average as well.
There's been ongoing debate about air conditioning and the lack of it in parts of Europe. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, it is something that is now coming into the public consciousness in the UK, in France, in other countries as well. Does France need to get a grip on air conditioning? Infamously, it is not something that we have here in widespread quantities. The number of AC units is very low. There's been a debate at political level as well, because Emmanuel Macron several years ago said he wanted to bring in new heating and cooling systems in 40,000 schools, and he's fallen well short of that aim. There's now calls for a widespread introduction of AC, particularly in educational institutes and in hospitals, to try to protect the most vulnerable. So lots of debate, lots of issues to consider when it comes to trying to bring in more AC in Europe.
Thanks so much, Ross.
No worries.
Ross Cullen from Paris. China and Taiwan are bracing for what could be the region's largest storm in nearly 40 years. Super Typhoon Bavi is churning through the Pacific, its powerful winds gusting near 200 kilometers an hour. It is expected to skirt past Taiwan before slamming into eastern China this weekend, threatening catastrophic flooding to communities already hit by recent storms. China is still recovering from another typhoon which killed at least 39 people earlier this week. More tourists are traveling to a hotspot for whales in Newfoundland. St. Vincent's Beach offers a chance to see humpbacks. But there are fears people could get swept out into the sea. Laura Howells reports.
We've come to watch the whales.
Tourists flock to this rocky beach, known as a humpback hotspot this time of year. So close you can smell them, but swimming in a dangerous ocean.
There's a saying out here saying you don't tease the waves because they will get you.
Rochelle Rausch is on high alert for her toddler. While we talk, he runs towards the waves. Rausch sprints after him, pulling him back.
Those waves can be deadly.
But not everyone is so on guard.
There's been concerns about people getting too close to the water, and I've seen it many times myself where like children are allowed to just roam freely in the ocean.
Resident Orla Moylan Hegarty tries to warn people online. Don't stand in the water.
The riptides, the currents, they could be really strong and they can knock anybody down and just kind of suck them out without warning.
That plus a sudden steep drop off into the deep. The town has put up warning signs, but it's not stopping everyone. Mayor Verna Hayward.
We never want anybody to be watched out, because if you get into that, your chances are you're not coming out of it.
Danger this Ontario tourist wasn't fully aware of.
But I wouldn't have thought like the tide would be able to just take you by just standing.
People hopeful, beachgoers stay cautious.
The ocean's incredibly dangerous, and I think that it's easy to forget that, and when you get sucked in the beauty of it.
Laura Howell, CBC News, St. Vincent's, Newfoundland and Labrador.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. For News Anytime, cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba. We continue to watch the weather here after a really devastating and relentless spring and early summer of rain. Stay with us. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is CBC. Here on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and on YouTube. Well, it looks like we're going to start dry today, but by the end of the day and into tonight, we do see a chance of showers in some areas. This will not be welcome news for a lot of people, as Manitobans are still recovering from the devastating storms this summer. Damaged basements to entire homes and flooded farmers' fields. We're going to talk to a couple from one of the hardest hit areas of Swan Valley West. They're going to join us live to share their story and hear what kind of help they still need and are hoping for. Their place was flooded not just once, but twice. So stay tuned for that. Heather Wells in a moment with local headlines. Heather, what's developing today?
Good morning. Well, yes, people in St. Lazare say the lack of cell service is putting them in danger. That Western Manitoba community of 200 is dealing with flooding along the Assiniboine. Councillor Devin Gurniak says in emergencies, they can't warn people or check to see if they're okay because they're in a cellular dead zone. We'll hear more from him. And voters in East St. Paul choose a new mayor and council in October. Officially, though, the names of the candidates are a secret. The RM says it won't say who's running until the nominations close in late September. And we'll hear how the province feels about that coming up in our next local news at 8:30.
All right. Thanks, Heather.
Thanks.
And now we're going to get into our forecast here in a little more detail than I was able to give. I mentioned how nice it is outside our CBC studio to start the day. I can see the sunshine here behind the blinds creeping in. But Abby's here to tee up what else is coming.
Yeah, we have air quality warning blanketing the northern part of the province due to the smoke presence. We're talking about from the Flin Flon area all the way towards Tudula Lake this morning. The only spot up north where we don't see those warnings is actually around the Gillam area and the Churchill area. Every other region up north, we have smoke really impacting the region. Then we come down south where we have this special heat statement active ahead of this mild 30s weekend that we will be getting as we get into Friday. We're talking about temperatures in the 30s tomorrow into Sunday. We should be seeing it feel like 45 by Sunday. But today in the city, we're looking at sunny stat. Then we'll see some clouds roll in a high of 27 today. If you look at the humidex, it feels like 32 later in the day, and then there's a good chance of showers and a risk of thunderstorms sometime tonight. But right now, Winnipeg, we're seeing temperatures already in the 20s across the southern part of the province, and most of the regions will get close to 27 today.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Corey Funk.
It's really just still those closed highways because of washouts. The most recent highway to close is Highway 221 from Marquette to Rosser because of washout areas. That's just a strip of highway just northwest of Winnipeg, as well, of course, lots of closed highways in the Swan Valley region, as well as moving east through the Duck Mountain Provincial Park, even as far as Camperville. Lots of close highways around there, even around Roblin as well. So just check Manitoba 511 before you hit the highways today, especially in western Manitoba. But if you see anything else going on, if you're walking, biking, driving, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number to call, 204-788-3093.
Well, Tara, Stephen, and Dale Weston are our next guests on the show. They live in the arm of Swan Valley West, and their home has been flooded twice. Their home was first flooded on the evening of June 8th. They spent 3 weeks trying to repair flood damage to the property, and then more water. Less than a month later, on June 30th, another flood. Tara and Dale are here live via Zoom. Hi, you guys.
Hi.
Are you in your home right now? What's it looking like there? That's okay if the dog barks. Live radio, don't worry.
You can hear your voice. I think someone's here.
Yeah. So are you in your house right now, Tara? What's it like around the house in terms of water?
We are in our house right now. All the water's receded. We've had some hot weather and everything's drying up good this time.
Yeah. What's the brunt of the damage that you know about so far, Tara?
Our crawl space was full of water, so all of our mechanical that runs the house, like the furnace, HVAC, AC, our pumps, hot water heater, all that kind of stuff was destroyed. We have an attached garage that took on about 1 to 2 feet of water, which was used as living space. So like fridges, freezers, couches, treadmill, the walls, the flooring, all of that's destroyed. And we also have a large shop outside and multiple outbuildings that took on between 6 inches and a foot of water. So everything, tools and equipment, everything we had stored out there has been water damaged, along with all our landscaping and
you guys shared some pictures with us, and they're going by here. Folks are watching the show on YouTube this morning. So much water. Dale, what's it been like for you guys to go through this not once but twice?
It's totally devastating. We thought we had it all beat in the 3 weeks of the first time we did it. We used all our holidays and just trying to recoup from the first time, and then the second time we have to go back to work to try to pay for some of this, and it's just I don't even know what to say. We thought we were ahead of it, and now we're replacing hot water tanks and everything the second time in 3 weeks. So the cost burden is going to be extreme, and it's I don't know what to say.
Yeah,
just physically and mentally exhausted.
Floods are so cruel, especially, in a moment, it's summer in Manitoba. We enjoy our properties. I was looking at your beautiful landscaping out in, rural Manitoba there. And it's a lake out your back door. I know it's receded now, but at its height and just all around your house. Do you guys have an idea? Either one of you can answer this, but about how much this is going to cost?
We kind of got some estimates from insurance adjusters or whatever, and it'll be close to 100,000 plus probably. That was the first time. So the cost that we incurred of repairing some equipment the first time is all lost again. So I don't know. We're probably maybe close to $150,000 if if you took in consideration of just equipment, but then we look at the stuff that we lost that are pictures and, personal stuff. We just moved here in November, so we had a lot of stuff that was in storage in the back shop that's basically just turned into garbage now.
Was this like a dream home thing for you guys, moving to a beautiful property in a rural area like that?
Yeah, we both sold both our houses to buy this one in November, and this is my retirement home, and we moved into something that we weren't going to have to repair or fix, or maybe a coat of paint, and we were going to be able to, or I was going to be able to retire here, and now it's turned into another big project. So
let's talk about possible coverage for you guys, because people should know you're in the rural area, Swan Valley West. So there's towns around there like Swan River when we talk about it, or Minnetonka, but you're in the rural area. So what do you understand about, I guess should ask first, I should back up. What was it like for you getting support with cleanup or with help from the RM when you were going through these floods?
We feel we didn't have a whole lot of support. After we talked to the RM, they came forward with a few cleaning supplies from the first flood. And with either flood, like there was a state of emergency called, but there were no mandatory evacuations. So in order to access any of the government funding, we had to be mandatory evacuated, and that didn't happen. So the only assistance we can apply for is the disaster financial assistance. And we've done that. And so far, we don't know what will be coming, what kind of financial assistance will be coming from that.
I'd like to add to that, we are in the RM, but we're basically not even a quarter mile out of town, and a highway divides our Swan Valley West from the town of Swan River. So there's just a highway in between us. So we are that close to town and didn't receive the benefits that the town had received because they had done different emergency measures, I guess.
Got it. So at one point, I understand you even were just hoping to get a dumpster. Is that right, to your property, and that didn't happen?
That was one request. They asked what we could do for help, and I requested a dumpster at the end of the lane that that they could move, because they have the equipment and stuff to do that, where we don't. And they basically had said that if they supplied one dumpster to us, they would have to do it for everybody. So that was pretty much the answer we got from there. So now we find out that the Swan River town is doing the garbage pickup and cleanup right at their front doorsteps, where I've taken 5 dump trailers of garbage of our personal stuff to the dump, which was provided you could take it to the dump and dump it there. But
you're doing all the work.
We've been doing all the work ourselves. So.
Yeah. I want to play you a clip, because we did actually, CBC reach out to the REVA, the RM of Swan Valley West, Bill Gade. Now, he said a mandatory evacuation order wasn't put in place so that people would have the opportunity to save their homes. So you'd have the opportunity to save your house and stay, and not mandatory be evacuated from it. He also responded by telling us, Bill Gade, that he reached out to, we have a clip here, another one. We have a clip from him, yes, pardon me. Here's what he had to say about the response, the criticism for the response from the RM.
So if there had been a mandatory evacuation order, the province of Manitoba would have provided emergency social services support to that couple and a few others in that same situation. That could have been hotel rooms for them. It could have been some emergency money. During the first flood in Minnetonka, there was no mandatory evacuation, and the province still provided those things. So our initial view had been that it would be treated the same for the second flood, and that the province would provide to all citizens of Swan Valley. Unfortunately, the ruling came down from the minister's office that only those residents in Swan River who were mandatory evacuated qualified for those supports.
So that was Bill Gates saying effectively Minnetonka wasn't an area that would have mandatory evacuation, but the province still stepped in and provided some of the supports. He presumed that might happen for you and others in the rural area. It didn't. At the provincial level, CBC also reached out to Lisa Naylor. She's the minister responsible for this money, for emergency management. She said, quote, "We know many Manitobans are facing enormous challenges after extreme weather over the last month. We want to ensure the government's here to support them during this time. We have expanded DFA programs to cover Manitobans who have already sent out over $6 million in aid to municipalities. Our government will continue to support Manitobans who will be providing more information and will be providing more information on the assistance available in the coming weeks," end quote. So how much hope do you have in hearing the province saying, that they're going to say something more in the coming weeks to try to help folks maybe that are like yourselves?
I'll believe it when I see it, I guess.
I think most of the money will get used up on repairing the roads and the other stuff. I don't think anybody personally will see the money to, offset some of the impact that we've had to incur. The cost of this is just devastating.
Yeah. To the point that your Reeve made about, if they didn't want to call mandatory evacuation because they wanted to give you a chance to stay back. How do you feel about that rule?
Like, in response to his response, Minnetonans came together as a community, and I can't remember the lady's name, but they had researched all different, I guess, forms of compensation for their community. Like, they looked out for each other, and they found ways to help each other, and that's why they didn't need the assistance. And I just find like we weren't getting that from our RM, and they didn't really pull together for us. And like, as for the mandatory evacuation, I understand we would have been mandated to leave our home, but my understanding is you can still go back to your home and try and save it.
You could sign
at your own risk.
Sign a waiver at your own risk. Like the people at Swan River in the valley, or in areas that the river was high, there was definitely dangerous situations there where we were not quite in that dangerous situation. So I just felt that he kind of faulted me for trying to stay home and save my house, because if we wouldn't have been here to pump the water out of the crawl space, it would have been under the main floor and would have wrecked the whole entire house instead of just the damage that we already have.
So they could have called the mandatory evac. You guys, it sounds like, would have signed the waiver and gone back to pump at your own risk, but still would have been covered. Yeah.
That's what he kind of explained that we had to be evacuated for 25 days, which is a kind of a crock, because I know there's people in the town that were back in their houses that evening pumping water at their own risk, and that's understandable. But just if they can't use that excuse for not calling a mandatory evacuation for if it would have meant us getting some more benefits or to help us. For one instant, we registered for a hotel room because neither of us could really, we had no sewer and water for how many days. So we both had to return back to work, and we've been relying on family and friends, and they've been wonderful. But that gets old, going to somebody's place all the time to shower or whatever. So we registered for a hotel room, and then got the hotel room. We went in and had showers and got cleaned up, come back, and then we got a call that night or finding out that we weren't eligible to have the hotel room because we weren't evacuated from our home, and that was only for the town people, not for the RM of Swan Valley West. So that's kind of what
that's an example of what you've been through.
One of the things, or the main example that probably made us make this interview and stuff, because I just don't feel there was a couple of things that weren't in place properly. And for the next time, it should definitely be looked after, I think.
Well, thank you very much for sharing what you've been through, as you said, in the hopes that in the future they'll make some changes and other people might fare differently. All the best with your cleanup. I know it takes a toll, and we're hoping to get out with the show to that part of the province sometime soon. So you guys take care out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's Tara Stephen and Dale West, and they live in the RM of Swan Valley West. Their home flooded twice this summer in the span of 3 weeks. It is 8:27 a.m. If you're just joining us this morning on Information Radio on CBC, 20 degrees, sunshine in Winnipeg. We are expecting chance of showers later. And Bonnie Tyler has died at the age of 75. We can't resist playing a classic. Here she is with all her gravelly voice intact.
Every now and then I get a little bit lonely and you're never coming around. Turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit tired of listening to the sound of my tears. Turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit nervous that the best of all the years have gone by. Turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit terrified, and then I see the look in your eyes. Turn around, bright eyes. Every now and then I fall apart. Turn around, bright eyes. Every now and then I fall apart, and I need you now tonight, and I need you more than ever. And if you only hold me tight, we'll be holding on forever, and we'll only be making it right, 'cause we'll never be wrong. Together we can take it to the end of the line. The love is like a shadow on me all of the time. All the time. I don't know what to do, and I'm always in the dark. We're living in a powder keg and giving off balls. I really need you tonight. Forever's gonna start tonight. Forever's gonna start tonight. Upon a time I was falling in love, but now I'm only falling apart. There's nothing I can do, a total eclipse of the heart.
From 1983, Bonnie Tyler's mega hit, Total Eclipse of the Heart. Man, I really, I still love her voice, man. She passed away at the age of 75 in a Portugal hospital, according to her family. She was a Welsh pop star, and of course, in the late 70s and 80s, had a number of hits. Wanted to play that one for you. Also want to mention what's coming up here on a local front. So at 12:15 to 1 is the regional call-in all across Manitoba. You can weigh in on Radio Noon. There sure is a lot of advice out there if you're a parent. There's all these things all over telling you how to parent and such. But wait a minute. There's also advice that maybe you're doing okay already. Maybe the kids are all right and you're doing just fine. The call-in today is all about parenting. What's your hot take on parenting? What's your style? What's your thing? And they've got a great expert to walk you through some of those conversations of advice. When to take it, when to leave it, and how to forge ahead. So 12:15, Radio Noon's call-in. Your CBC News from Manitoba is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg at 8:30, 20 degrees right now. Beautiful sunshine. We will see more clouds move in with a southerly breeze. Today's high is 27, humidex 32, and there's a pretty good shot at showers this evening. Winnipeg police allege a man arrested in a months-long string of Winnipeg arsons last year had plans to target other places, including Manitoba Health Minister Uzoma Asseguera's constituency office and the CBC. Those unproven allegations emerged in recently unsealed search warrant documents. The documents also allege Jesse Wheatland was carrying a notebook when he was arrested containing those targets, including healthcare workers and the train station. Wheatland remains in custody and is scheduled to stand trial next year. You can read more on this story on our website this morning, cbc.ca/Manitoba. A Winnipeg area municipality isn't telling voters the names of its candidates until weeks before this fall's election. The provincial government isn't thrilled about that. CBC's Bartley Kivas reports.
Voters in East St. Paul choose a new mayor and council in October. Officially, who's running is a secret. East St. Paul doesn't plan to reveal the names of candidates until nominations close in late September. Chief Administrative Officer Suzanne Ward says no legislation compels her municipality to post the names of registered candidates earlier. Municipal Relations Minister Glenn Smart says while that's true, his government advises municipalities to post the names of candidates as soon as they register. Smart says this improves transparency, openness, fairness, and public trust. Brian Watchko, who says he's running for council in East St. Paul, doesn't like the secrecy.
If somebody comes to my door saying that they're a potential candidate, I should have the ability to contact the elections office and say, is this person legitimate?
Watchko also says potential candidates have no way of knowing who they might be running against. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A 39-year-old man has been charged after a preschool-aged child was seriously hurt Monday. Police say the child was being cared for by a man in an Elmwood home where the injuries occurred. Emergency services were contacted and the fire paramedic service rushed the child to hospital. That's when the Winnipeg Police Child Abuse Unit was contacted. The man was later arrested in the home on Thames Avenue and charged with aggravated assault. People in St. Lazare say the lack of cell service is putting them in danger. The western Manitoba town of 200 is dealing with flooding on the Assiniboine. Councillor Devin Gurniak says in emergencies they can't warn people or check to see if they're okay because they're in a cellular dead zone. But he says the infrastructure is there.
There's 2 or 3 large towers that aren't being used that Bell MTS could put their equipment on. We've offered to buy that equipment. We were given a rough cost of the equipment at $30,000, which the RM is willing to write a check for tomorrow, but they will not put it up. We fall on deaf ears every time.
Gurniak says the community falls between jurisdictions of Bell MTS and Rogers, and there's dispute over who owns the towers. In a statement to CBC, Bell MTS says it is committed to reliable, high-quality service throughout the province, but wireless expansion in rural areas like St. Lazare is a challenge for private investment. It says it's open to partnering with government to expand the network. Parts of Dauphin Regional Health Centre will likely remain closed for months. It's one of the challenges left behind after heavy rains last week flooded the hospital's basement. Details from CBC's Ian Fraze.
An internal memo says some healthcare services at Dauphin's hospital will likely resume before others. The memo to staff working at the hospital was obtained by CBC News. It warns service disruptions will likely continue for several months, forcing some patients in the city to go elsewhere for care. The closure stems from major flooding last week. Heavy rains poured into the hospital's basement, knocking out power and forcing the evacuation of dozens of patients. A temporary assessment clinic has been set up, but that will help people with basic care, not emergencies. Doctors Manitoba says physicians are concerned by what the hospital's extended closure will mean for patients. The hospital is a hub for tens of thousands of people in the Parkland region. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
And a new drone lending library is going to help small construction firms try new tech. The federal government's giving the Manitoba Construction Sector Council $1 million to buy drones and train people how to use them. The drones will use laser imaging called LiDAR that helps companies create 3D images. Sean Usher at Republic Architecture is looking forward to borrowing one.
A lot of construction companies would love to use these technologies, but don't have $50,000 to drop on, a LiDAR-equipped drone.
Right now, the Construction Council is asking companies what kind of drones they would like to use. The lending library is expected to open in October. You can find the latest news updated throughout the day. Head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
I'm off for a couple weeks. I'll talk to you later.
Oh, have a great time.
Thank you. And thanks to associate producers who worked on today's program, Chloe Friesen, Sophia Peralta-Barone, and Kaylin Monkman. From our news department, Heather Wells, Darren Bernhardt, and Megan Ketchison. And our live team, Darren Marash, Corey Funk, and Abby Adiyemi. Our producers, Nellie Gonzalez and Leif Larson. Corey, what do you know?
Highway 21, just east of Sioux Valley, Dakota Nation, closed right now because the Assiniboine is flooded to a point where it's actually over the highway, so you can't get through there. That just new this in this past hour.
Thanks, Corey.
No problem.
Abby.
Yeah, air quality warnings remains in place for the northern part of the province, and for the south, we have heat warning statements in place. We see temperatures climb to the 30s over the weekend.
All right, thank you, Abby. Take care, be well, Manitoba. As I mentioned, I will be away from the show for a few weeks, so we will talk to you later in July. And thanks always for listening to your public broadcaster here on CBC 89.3 FM, 990 AM, or watching on YouTube. I'm Marcy Marcusa. The Current is next.